Hello and welcome to another episode of Vimoh Life. This is a podcast that is recorded live on YouTube and Twitch on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. and on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. Today is Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Today is January 4th. Our last episode was on the New Year's Day. And even though I had invited someone specific, at least a couple of people, but only one of them managed to make it because the other one was eating stuff that people should not eat. So I managed to bring him on today. So we will primarily be answering chat questions, both him and I. And I will bring him on screen in just a moment. Let me just do the thing that I always forget to do. Ah, yes, here it is, the ticker. So before I proceed, I'll just remind everyone that the channel is monetized. You can support my work and this podcast by clicking the join button below and becoming a member. This podcast is about Indian culture, not ancient Indian culture, because plenty of people are already obsessed with it. We talk about contemporary Indian culture and about the behaviors that we are engaging in that will take us into the future. And we also talk about atheism. But today we are just going to take chat questions. So if you have questions for me and my guest, please let me know in the live chat. But of course, how will you know what questions to ask my guest unless I show who it is? It's Meghnad. Hi, Meghnad.
Hey, hello again.
Good. Good to
Am I
see
am
you
I
after
still
such
a
a
guest, Vimoh? I just
what?
I just drop by whenever. Am I still a
Yeah. So
guest?
still a guest, still a guest. I mean, you're a guest until I keep calling you a guest. The day I
Yeah,
go,
that's
Arey yaar, ye phir aa gaya," that day you'll stop being a guest. But I don't think that day will ever come because I'm really grateful to have you here. So, how was New Year's?
I went to Meghalaya.
And
It was glorious. I mean, I had gone there briefly before to Shillong, but this
okay.
time I actually did like touristy things. Like the insane thing that I saw was the Living Roots Bridge. You know what those are?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah. I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Khasi tribes have basically devised this technique of gently guiding the roots to the other bank while crossing a river. And it's insane. Like for hundreds of years, they just like put up bamboos and poles so that the roots grow around it, and that becomes a bridge. It's
Oh, so
crazy.
they,
And
they
like,
put bamboos and the roots follow it, and then they put another one, the roots follow it, and that's how over
yeah,
time it
yeah,
becomes a bridge.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
very
And it's
nice.
a rubber tree, a form of a rubber tree. So it's
Okay.
like it's crazy. Like, and I saw like two of them. One was under construction, and the
Hmm.
other one was like super old. So mind blowing. I
Okay.
was very stunned.
Hmm. So, Meghnad, because
Mm.
this was a bit of a surprise for the audience, people are asking if they get to come on screen.
Yes, of
Sure.
course.
So here's
Yeah,
the deal. I and Meghnad will be on screen. Someone else can
yeah,
come on screen, but instead of just talking to me, you today get to talk to both of us. How does that
yeah,
sound? I'll share the
yeah.
link in the chat. Hold on. The reason I did not share it till now because I was not sure about what the state of affairs today was going to be. By the way, today is my birthday.
Oh, hey, happy birthday, 4th of
Thank you.
January.
Thank you.
What is
Yeah.
your sun sign again? Uh, Let me
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yeah.
When is your sun sign? I mean, when is your birthday? When is the sun sign?
10th of November. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you don't look like a Scorpio at all.
How does one look like a Scorpio? Everybody says that.
There
It's
should
like,
be a
oh, you
tail.
don't look
There
like a
should be a
Scorpio.
there should be a tail and a sting
Oh, that way.
or
You mean
something
I
like
don't look
that.
like a scorpion, not like don't look like a Scorpio.
That I believe can be said about anyone. Nobody looks like a scorpion unless he's a Spider-Man character.
One
So yeah,
giveaway of Scorpios, though, I must
uh,
say, is that we stare a lot.
oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
like I mean,
Uh,
every Scorpio
annoying,
that you
annoying stares.
yeah, like we stare right into your eyes and we do it for hours until you get intimidated, and it just happens naturally, not like I do it like deliberately.
Yeah,
It's
I think
fun.
some Scorpio. It always feels like people do it. I'm not talking about Scorpios because astrology is not something I believe in. But the reason I know about this, you know, the story about why I am kind of. Uh, I have a general idea about sun signs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Have I told you
There
this
is an
story?
idea. No, you haven't. No.
So I used to be in an office where every night around midnight, astrologer who has been I was on a news desk, And
Okay.
every morning, whoever has subscribed to the Astro service on our SMS service used to get their daily horoscope. So every night
Okay.
around midnight, the astrologer would send in stuff. We would feed it into the system. It will go out at 7. Some days the
Right.
astrologer got drunk and slept, and he didn't send it. So on those days, we used to make up any kind of shit we wanted to and send it
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
then one day I realized I feel guilty that I'm doing this. I should probably learn at least some basics so that I can, I don't send to a Scorpio that you will forgive people and stuff like that. So I went and bought a few books and I read about it, and that's why I know stuff.
Did you read that what is that famous author's book called? Everybody has read that who knows anything about star signs.
Linda
I forget the
Goodman.
name. Linda Goodman. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the
that
one.
only I got. I got sun
That
signs and love
only. Yeah.
signs and all that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, but
So
happy birthday. Get yourself a drink, I guess.
I don't
Today
drink.
is the day. Oh, you don't drink, right? Shit. I have
In
bad
fact,
day, so let's celebrate.
no, that's okay. That is water for YouTube, by the way. Yeah, that is water and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, water and whatever.
Yes,
Apple juice. Yeah.
yes, water and apple juice. So, I have actually taken on a much more harsher regimen in life. Now in addition to waking up early, I'm also eating at least one meal of a day is just salad.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Because
That's
I've turned
that's what
40.
I've been doing as well.
So you've been
I
wiser
mean,
than me before I was, despite being a
wait, how
Scorpio
old are you
somehow.
again?
40.
Oh, you're 40, right, right. So
Yeah, yeah.
the reason why I'm doing this is also because of my partner, partially, but also because, like, I don't know, like last year sometime, my body started hurting in places where I didn't
Oh,
recognize.
wow.
It's like, why is this happening?
Yeah,
And
that
then I
happens.
realized I was unfit.
Hmm.
So, so then I started an exercise and a diet, and I lost like 8 kgs in like 2 months. And then I was like, that's not good. That can't be good. So yeah,
It's like
now
this.
I'm like,
It's like the kilograms just fell off.
yeah, it's just like, and how can I lose weight? It's just like,
Yeah,
it
you're
blew
not.
my
Yeah,
mind. I was
yeah.
like, what?
Hmm. So
So
that's
I
what.
I was malnourished for a bit. Then I started eating, but I still eat like one salad a day. But
No,
raat
one
ko I
salad a
eat
day is
very
a
heavy.
good idea. I think for someone like me who used to eat no salads a day, I think it's a good idea. So first of all, thank you to everyone in the chat who's wishing happy birthday. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Secondly, one person at least is waiting in queue. I'll just take them on screen.
Yeah.
And this is Mahesh.
हेलो
Hi, Mahesh.
हेलो
Hello.
Hello, Mahesh.
हाँ, तो मैं एक बार वो बुक निकाल लेता हूँ जिसमें मैंने क्वेश्चंस लिखे हैं, ठीक है? एक सेकंड।
अच्छा,
Okay.
तुमने एक बुक लिख डाली सवाल पूछने के
Intense.
लिए?
नहीं, अरे मतलब उसमें एक पेपर है।
अच्छा,
Oh
ठीक
wow.
है।
Okay.
ओके, तो ये थोड़ा स्पिरिचुअल से रिलेटेड,
हुँ।
स्पिरिचुअलिटी से
आज
रिलेटेड
तुम्हारे
है।
पास एक थीइस्ट है और एक एथीइस्ट है बात करने को।
हाँ, तो मजा आएगा आज।
बताओ।
फिलहाल तो ये है कि क्या स्पिरिचुअलिटी में थोड़ा बहुत भी साइंस है? मतलब मैंने जो भी स्पिरिचुअलिटी सुनी है वो उन बड़े यूट्यूब चैनल वाले बंदे से ही सुनी है, तो
बड़े
मैंने
यूट्यूब वाले बंदे से?
हाँ, किस वाले बंदे की बात कर रहे हो?
more than 25 million non-profitable channel.
अच्छा, अच्छा, ही इज़ टॉकिंग अबाउट
Sadhguru?
नो, नो, नो,
No.
the non-गेरुआ वस्त्र wearing, coat wearing, चश्मा wearing guy who said that Western philosophy is completely shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
aren't
yeah.
we supposed to name anyone? Are you
No,
afraid of
you can, it's
defamation?
okay. You can name, identify. नाम बता सकते हो महेश?
तो ठीक है। तो हाँ, ये मैंने संदीप माहेश्वरी से ही सुना है कि मतलब
अच्छा।
स्पिरिचुअलिटी भी एक साइंस है, तो ये कितना सच है?
Well, I
But
guess
spirituality वो कैसे define करते हैं? Like if you
हाँ,
can tell
हाँ।
us a
हाँ,
little, I
उनके
guess.
डेफिनेशन पे डिपेंड करता है ना, क्योंकि हमारे पास साइंस
हम्म,
का डेफिनेशन है।
हुँ,
स्पिरिचुअलिटी का डेफिनेशन हर इंसान का अलग-अलग होता है। आई एम श्योर मेघनाथ एक
हम्म,
एथिस्ट नहीं है, बट ही हैज़ अ डिफरेंट डेफिनेशन ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी दैन संदीप
yeah.
माहेश्वरी।
हाँ, तो मैंने उनके काफ़ी वीडियोज़ देखे, वो मतलब क्या करते हैं, मैंने मतलब एक तरह से ऑब्ज़र्व किया है कि वो कोई भी वर्ड होता है, ये वर्ड इज़ स्पेसिफिक, फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल दिस इज़ द वर्ड, तो ये उसका कोई भी मीनिंग मतलब अंदर तक जाके फिर बोलेंगे, नहीं देखो इसका मीनिंग तो ये है।
अच्छा, नहीं वही प्रॉब्लम है ना, प्रॉब्लम ये है
हुँ,
कि जब तक हम मतलब तुम और मैं बात कर रहे हैं कि एप्पल के बारे
हुँ,
में, पर तुम सीक्रेटली एक गुलाब जामुन के बारे में बात कर रहे हो और उसको एप्पल बोल
यस,
रहे हो, तो हमारी बातचीत का
यस,
ढंग कोई मतलब नहीं निकलेगा। एज़
यस।
लॉन्ग एज़ बोथ
Hmm.
पीपल डोंट हैव सिमिलर डेफिनिशन एट लीस्ट,
हुँ।
कन्वर्सेशन हो ही नहीं सकती। अगर मैं बोलूँगा अगड़ुम-बगड़ुम, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है। तो तुम बोलोगे नहीं मेरे लिए अगड़ुम-बगड़ुम का मतलब है एक चम्मच और मैं बोलूँगा नहीं अगड़म-बगड़म का मतलब है क्या एस्टेरॉइड। बात हो ही नहीं रही है फिर, राइट? देयर इज़
सेम,
सो मच डिफरेंस देयर।
यस।
But
देखो,
like so
यस।
I'm not sure what sort of question this is because spirituality में science because spirituality
हुँ,
according to me is
हुँ,
essentially um how do I put it? Hmm. So spirituality involves एक basic चीज involve करती है कि you have a spirit,
हुँ,
right? And spirit and interchangeable with soul, I guess, Vimo. Um,
no, there are
I
people who
guess.
like, in my last phases of, like when I was not an atheist, I used
Hmm.
to define spirituality as a search for meaning. So to me,
Okay.
picking up the dictionary to find the word of a meaning of a word was also spiritual because I was going for the, you know how we say the letter and spirit of the law.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
used to define spirit simply as meaning. And whenever a human being asks the questions like, मैं कौन हूँ, हम लोग यहाँ पे क्यों हैं, that's a spiritual
Hmm.
quest, is what I used to
हुँ,
think. Now I've
So
gotten to a place.
philosophy is also similar then, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, asking questions. So I mean, what Mahesh
I
said,
think
right?
spirituality
Like
is very
he's.
specifically about the self, and philosophy can be
Hmm.
about politics and other things and stuff like that.
बट महेश ने जो बोला ना कि
Hmm.
महेश ने बोला कि एसेंशियली व्हाट संदीप माहेश्वरी एसेंशियली डज इज दैट ही आस्क कि ओ इसके बीच में ये मीनिंग है इसके बीच में ये मीनिंग है और फिर ओ एक्चुअली इसका मीनिंग अलग है
हाँ.
बट इट्स हिज इंटरप्रिटेशन
Yeah,
एसेंशियली
yeah, yeah.
बट सो देन I don't know if there is science here.
No, there
It's a
isn't.
little it's a
But as
little
somebody points out, like here, there is a comment. Somebody points out
hmm,
the definition of science is not definite. It is highly contested. The reason why political science is not science according to many, but is according to many, and both have very valid reasoning, etc., etc. My point is that I
hmm,
am not talking about political science. I'm talking about the scientific method using which we realize things about the physical universe. That is what I mean. उसका मतलब बहुत साफ है.
hmm,
You observe, you form a hypothesis, you compare notes, you come to a conclusion, and then you present that as a model until more information comes. If that model works, it works. That's what science is.
hmm.
स्पिरिचुअलिटी में ऑब्जेक्टिव होने का स्कोप ही नहीं है. अगर तुम्हारा और मेरा डेफिनेशन ही सेम नहीं है तो ऑब्जेक्टिव कहाँ से होंगे हम लोग. इट्स वेरी सब्जेक्टिव.
हुँ।
हाँ महेश.
नहीं, कुछ नहीं, आप बात करो, मैं तब तक नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे थोड़ा खुद सोच लेता हूँ, फिर बोल भी
नहीं
देता हूँ अगर
बात
उतना
होगी
टाइम
हमारी
ना
इसके
हो।
ऊपर. बात
अच्छा,
होगी नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन के ऊपर. सोचो मत क्योंकि 3-4 लोग वेट कर रहे
अच्छा, हाँ, क्योंकि
हैं.
अभी एक और क्वेश्चन है। हाँ, तो आपको संदीप माहेश्वरी के बारे में लगता है कि ये मतलब बंदे, ये आदमी जो बोलता है उसमें थोड़ा लॉजिक है, और है तो कितना है?
देखो मेरे ओपिनियन तो इसके बारे में काफ़ी साफ हैं. मेघनाथ, व्हाट डू यू थिंक ऑफ संदीप माहेश्वरी?
He's a great businessman.
ओके.
I think he does marketing really well.
हुँ,
हम्म.
He knows essentially what his audience wants, which is primarily young, desperate people,
हुँ,
essentially who do not have any sort of,
एंड ऑल यंग
let's
पीपल
say,
डेस्परेट.
I mean, all young people are desperate, of course, but वो क्या है ना कि when you get into like a scene of desperation, you desperately look for someone who you can follow. Essentially,
हम्म.
वो बताएगा मुझे क्या करना है लाइफ में because I have no clue and there's
हम्म.
nobody around me to tell me कि क्या करना है essentially in a nice
हम्म.
way, right? So I think Sandeep Maheshwari fills that role very evidently and very nicely. कि people who are lost often seek heroes and mentors to follow. I think he's a great mentor that way because technically he doesn't really say anything damaging per se. I
हम्म.
mean, sure, उसका वो थोड़ा सा ओ सक्सेस के लिए ये करना चाहिए, सक्सेस के लिए वो करना चाहिए,
एंड
फंडे
इवन
है.
दैट पार्ट वेयर ही सेड वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफी को फेंक दो, उसमें कुछ भी नहीं है, हमारे यहाँ तो कितना ज्ञान था.
वो of course, like I mean, that's all I call takiya kalam behavior, which is essentially, like to prove that you are correct, you have to prove something else is wrong. So then even
Yeah.
if what you think is not correct, because you've proved something else wrong, then it by default makes you correct. So
हाँ, but you're
it,
not even
it's a
proving that
fake
the other
news.
thing is correct. You're simply saying that it is incorrect. It's basically a bunch of claims.
Sure, of course. I mean, it's
Hmm.
not, again, his many of his theories are not rooted in science, I would say,
Yeah.
or facts for that matter. But at the end of the day, I think his primary job is to motivate people and make them feel good about themselves, which he's
Hmm.
great at. So
Hmm.
I guess, well done.
Acha, by the way, I wanted to ask you another thing. Since Sandeep Maheshwari occupies a space in the motivational, market, you have
Mhm.
also made certain motivational videos on Instagram Reels. Are
Yes.
you looking to go into that space?
I was it's very weird. So Instagram Reels, basically I just took it up because so News Laundry में काम करता था, तो I had exclusivity, so I could not do
Hmm.
anything else, right?
Hmm.
But with IVM I have a nice, like they allow me to do a lot of other things.
Hmm.
So now I'm trying out a lot of new things like YouTube channel, whatever,
Hmm.
Instagram Reels. Also I was very curious about Reels, so I started
Hmm.
doing political Reels. Then my partner, she was like, listen, you want to become influencer? No, this is not what you can do. You cannot talk about politics on Instagram because they don't even have a category. So how why will the algorithm promote you?
You know
So
the
then I was
the
like,
the
hmm,
wild thing is, and I'll let you continue. But Instagram is probably a good place to do political content, if you find the right audience. Which I did, by the way, for a couple of years.
hmm, hmm.
Like all my content is political, and it grew fantastically well. It grew faster than people who are doing fashion and makeup videos.
And you primarily post screenshots of your tweets.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how it grew.
I was
Yeah, which is
writing. I
which
was
is
not even
very
make
interesting.
videos. Yeah.
या एग्जैक्टली बट तो रील्स का एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है राइट सो फॉर एग्जांपल मेरे भी पोस्ट जो ट्वीट के स्क्रीनशॉट्स है दे डू वेरी वेल आई गेन
Hmm.
लाइक 600 फॉलोअर्स इन अ डे कुछ भी होता है बट
Hmm.
विथ रील्स ना द थिंग इज I think because it's also very random, I guess more random than anything else, and plus involves like a lot of tropey things.
Hmm.
Um, so then essentially I was like और क्या कर सकता हूँ, so I was like oh let's try to do motivational videos, but
Hmm.
उसमें बहुत लोग कर रहे थे once I actually looked. So I was like I'll do anti motivational.
Anti
I'll be
motivational.
so
Yeah.
real. I'll be so real that it will hit you in the face and you will feel depressed for the rest of the day. The
Hmm.
funny thing though is that I spoke about like late stage capitalism and religion and you're an idiot and whatever if you believe
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
these
Hmm.
things, etc. People actually got motivated. I'm like, what? that's
I'm
that's
telling you, Instagram
counterproductive.
will surprise you sometimes. Like
Yeah,
the platform itself has its own priorities, but Instagram audiences will sometimes surprise you. You'll think that the algorithm has decided that these people will not be interested in anything other than makeup, but you find out that they have political views, and if they
yeah.
discover you, they will stick with you.
There's a nice comment by Somana here. What if you do makeup and talk about politics? I think
That's
someone
actually a
did
great
that, no?
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I don't do
wha-
makeup, but
one good one good content advice that I gave. Hold on, a second. Mahesh is still on the line. Mahesh, do you have any other
oh yeah.
questions?
Yes, I have.
You
Oh,
do?
go on. You
So
can
Yes.
interrupt,
एक सेकंड
sir.
एक सेकंड एक सेकंड महेश आई विल हैव टू
Hmm.
मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पर्सन मेरे पास इस क्वेश्चन के लिए टाइम नहीं होगा कैन यू डू इट नेक्स्ट वीक
नेक्स्ट वीक?
हाँ
हाँ, तो अब कोई नहीं, नेक्स्ट वीक कर लेते हैं। बाय द वे
ठीक है
क्वेश्चन छोटा है, तो अगर
अच्छा
जल्दी
बता
होगा
दो बता दो बता दो बता दो
पूछ
बता दो
अच्छा ठीक है, तो ये क्वेश्चन है कि मतलब कोई भी चीज़ बोली और उसको इंटरप्रेट किसी और वे में किया, फिर उसका मतलब निकालना, इसके ऊपर आपका क्या व्यूज़ है?
आई हैव नो आइडिया व्हाट यू जस्ट आस्क्ड मी
बहुत
मतलब
एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है.
कोई
क्या
लाइन
पूछ रहे हो
लिखी है, मतलब
हाँ
फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल माइथोलॉजी में कोई स्टोरीज़ वगैरह है,
ठीक है
ठीक है? तो उसको पहले हमने पढ़ा, फिर उसको इंटरप्रेट उसको कुछ इंटरप्रेट किया हमने,
हाँ
जबकि उसमें लिखा हुआ एकदम स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है, उसमें जो लिखा हुआ इंटरप्रेट हमको बेसिकली करना चाहिए या नहीं?
आई डोंट थिंक हमारे पास चॉइस है हम जो भी पढ़ते हैं हम उसको इंटरप्रेट करते ही हैं
हुँ,
बिना इंटरप्रेट किए हम
हाँ.
लोग मशीन तो नहीं है ना देखो
हुँ,
कंप्यूटर की जो मेमोरी होती है उसमें तुमने एक फाइल डाली वो फाइल वैसे ही रहेगी तुम उसको
हुँ,
उस डिवाइस से निकाल के किसी और डिवाइस में लगाओगे वो फाइल वैसे ही रहेगी
हुँ,
पर इंसान का दिमाग वैसा नहीं होता इंसान का दिमाग होता है उसके अंदर तुमने इन्फॉर्मेशन डाली वो
हुँ,
इन्फॉर्मेशन प्रीवियसली एग्जिस्टिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन के साथ बातचीत करती है
हुँ,
और उसके जरिए डेवलप होती है अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमारे
हुँ,
पास हमारा दिमाग वैसा ही है हम इंटरप्रेट किए बिना रह नहीं सकते
हुँ।
तो करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए का कुछ मतलब नहीं है
हाँ, मतलब चॉइस ही नहीं है तो फिर मतलब ही नहीं। एक
हाँ हाँ
छोटा-सा मतलब एक वेरी लिटिल, तो मतलब
हो
ये
गया रे
जो
तेरा
संदीप
एक लिटिल लिटिल तब
अरे
से एक के बाद
हाँ,
एक
छोटा-सा बहुत छोटा-सा है। ये संदीप
दिस इज द
माहेश्वरी
लास्ट
खुद भी
वन
हाँ, ओके। संदीप माहेश्वरी खुद भी बात करते हैं कि क्रिटिकल क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग और रैशनैलिटी वगैरह,
हम्म
तो उस पे आपके क्या व्यूज़ हैं? और ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन है।
बात
I
करना
mean,
और
critical
किसी चीज़
thinking
के
is
बारे में
very
बात
important.
करना या बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, पर किसी चीज़ के बारे में बात करना और किसी चीज़ को करना, इन दोनों चीज़ में फ़र्क होता है। सो
हुँ,
आई ऑलवेज़ पे अटेंशन मोर ऑन व्हाट समवन इज़ डूइंग इंस्टेड ऑफ व्हाट समवन इज़ सेइंग। बहुत से लोग हैं जो साइंस के भजन गाते हैं, पर साइंटिफिक कोई भी कुछ नहीं होता उनके प्रवचन में।
हुँ।
मेघनाथ, व्हाट डू
क्वेश्चनिंग
यू से?
Yeah.
क्वेश्चनिंग मतलब क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग में आएगी क्या?
बिल्कुल।
So
क्वेश्चनिंग
questioning is obviously like the first step towards critical thinking, ना? अगर आप किसी भी चीज के बारे में क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हो, तो उसके
हुँ,
बाद you start thinking about it critically,
हुँ,
right?
हुँ,
The reason why you are questioning it is to think about it critically, I would say. क्योंकि अगर कुछ भी मतलब अगर अभी आप जो क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हो हमसे,
हुँ,
that is you doing critical thinking. कि आप
हुँ,
संदीप माहेश्वरी को देख के कुछ क्वेश्चंस नोट करके लाए और हमको पूछ रहे हैं,
हुँ,
तो फिर that is critical thinking and you're doing it by default, right? So it's like
हुँ,
not like um आपके भी कोई views होंगे इन questions पे, you're just asking us about our views and seeing if they match, right?
या
Or don't match,
यस,
and why don't they match? So that's
यस,
critical thinking.
यस।
हुँ।
ओके, थैंक यू।
थैंक्स
Thanks,
महेश।
Mahesh.
दैट वाज़ महेश।
Listen,
होल्ड
I
ऑन।
asked ChatGPT what spirituality is.
व्हाई?
I ask ChatGPT everything nowadays. It's
दैट्स
just
अ
like
बैड हैबिट, दैट्स अ बैड हैबिट। हाँ, फिर व्हाट डिड ही
no, it's
से?
not. It's actually
व्हाट डिड
quite fun.
It is fun, but uh, 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 अच्छा नहीं भैया, tell me first what it said.
It says spirituality is a broad concept that encompasses a range of practices, beliefs, and experiences that are related to an individual's sense of connection to something greater than themselves. This could be a connection to a higher power, to nature, to other people, or to a sense of inner peace and understanding. Spirituality often involves a search for meaning, purpose, or enlightenment, and it can be expressed in a variety of ways, such as through religious or cultural traditions, meditation, prayer, or artistic expression.
Hmm.
That's actually a nice little broad ass explanation of what it is. It
Yeah,
also
my
sounds like philosophy.
so let me tell you why I have a problem with ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT doesn't actually understand anything. Because if you ask ChatGPT to translate what it just wrote into Hindi, it will say,
Hmm.
"Sure, I'll be happy to do that," and then it will give you complete garbage because it has not had enough exposure to Hindi content. It cannot
Yeah.
accurately predict which word comes after what.
Yep.
All it gives us is what is the most common sentence structures that it has encountered in its browsing of the web or its
Yeah.
training sessions. And it
Hmm.
is very tempting because I was reading a book about the creation of a software called Eliza some years ago. And
Hmm.
the person who invented Eliza, he said that my assistant, who was with me throughout the process, knew how Eliza works. But even she could not resist the temptation of thinking of Eliza as a human being.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
machines, like you expose yourself to a reasonable amount or large amounts of machines talking like people, and even though you
Hmm.
know it's a machine, you will start thinking of its opinions as being opinions because they're not
Hmm.
based on any kind of understanding. I may sound like a technophobe in this, but I'm really quite worried about this happening to a lot of people. I mean, use
Interesting.
ChatGPT to write an application or something, but over a longer period of time, this will happen.
I find ChatGPT very fun to just play around with. That's it. Like I mean, I'm just like
That is how it
they're very
begins, my friend.
curious. I know
That
it.
is how it
I'm very
begins.
aware. This is how they're roping me in, and then like एक subscription लगा देंगे and I'll pay it. You know I'll
Yeah.
pay it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
useful.
This
I'll
is
give you that. It's definitely useful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a
Dude,
person.
crazy things it does, huh? Like I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite crazy. Now to
Because,
it remembers my conversations through whatever time I've
yeah,
done
yeah.
it.
I had an entire conversation with
Made my Shillong
ChatGPT.
itinerary. I was like, make my trip, bye bye. Like तुम blog ऐसे ही लिखो अब.
Sumana has pointed out something. Sumana says, I asked ChatGPT to create a retirement plan for me, and it nicely asked me to downsize and move to a cheaper country.
Nice, love it. I
Okay.
keep trying to
So,
make it say controversial things. It doesn't, but then you have to
no, it
create a
doesn't.
fiction. There's a loophole. There's a
I
loophole.
asked ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT write a love story between this, and it did. Then I said
Hmm.
write a flirtatious text to a colleague, and it said that's not a good thing. You should not ask me.
But if you phrase it in a fictional scenario, no, like you have
हाँ,
to define the scenario. Okay, oh, there is this play that is happening on the stage, and then there are these two characters which
हाँ,
are in
हाँ, हाँ,
conflict.
हाँ. Yeah,
It takes a
totally,
while,
totally.
but then it's a loophole. So then eventually it basically starts giving you whatever you want.
Yeah. Wow. So the next person is Hamza. Hi, Hamza.
Oh, Hamza,
Hi, Vimoh.
How do
are you
do
the
you
Uh,
know
Hamza
Hamza?
from
Hi.
Twitter, Hamza?
no, no, no.
No, okay. Sorry, go
Who's
on.
Hamza from Twitter?
There's a person on Twitter who keeps talking to me, and I follow him.
Acha,
So I
acha,
thought
acha.
it was him.
And like a good person from Twitter or a bad person from Twitter?
Yeah, yeah, decent chap.
Acha, okay, cool.
So my first question is like मैंने ये ऑब्जर्व किया है कि जितने भी मिडिल 30s एंड 40s में जो लोग होते हैं जो थोड़े बहुत रिलीजियस होते हैं
Hmm.
एवरेज, वो जब उनकी ज़्यादा एज हो जाती है तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा रिलीजियस हो जाते हैं जब वो
Hmm.
बूढ़े हो जाते हैं.
Hmm.
तो इसका कोई स्पेशल रीज़न है या सिर्फ डर ही है?
What do you think, Meghnad?
Mm. I'm becoming more religious. Religious in the sense I don't want to define it as religious. Just that my feeling of, let's say, let me just define my state of head so that maybe you get an answer, Hamza. तो कभी कभी लगता है ना कि it's I think a sign of desperation also, because you get older and then you see that your body is slowly disintegrating, which you can
Hmm.
see, you can feel it in your bones now. Can't keep awake like you
Meghnad,
used to.
how old are you?
I'm 33, right?
Your body is
Exactly.
disintegrating at
No,
33?
as in, that's the thing, right? You start noticing signs which you see you couldn't do things like in my 20s. I could do these things. Now I can't, sort of a situation where
Hmm.
I can't stay awake. I can't drink too much, otherwise it fucks up my system. Uh, Things like that.
Hmm.
Uh, at that point, you're like, maybe it's time to just change my habits. But why? It's because my body can't handle it anymore. तो उसकी
Hmm.
वजह से ना, like it's like this feeling of, okay, so I guess I'm dying now. I mean, slowly, steadily, I am on a decline. So 70
Yeah.
साल 90 साल, I don't know, but I am now going downhill. So
Uh,
then that is where it creates like this void in your head, and that is
Hmm.
what is filled by stories. And that one of the stories is religion, if people find it
Yeah.
faith. um, Also, you start losing faith in a lot of other things around you,
Yeah, that is true.
and you get tired, I guess. So then
I'm
you are
fond of
like
saying
this.
that the reason people, like human beings, grow up and they
Mm,
have the ability to rely on certain people as permanent, right? My parents are
mm,
always there. My family is always there. My support system is always there. You grow old and a bunch of them die. And then you suddenly realize
mm,
that all these things that you were taking for granted were not permanent. So now you need
that's
something
true.
permanent, and the only thing that is in sight as permanent is the idea of God, because people keep saying God will
Mm,
never change, eternal, and all that. Har dharm ka jo bhi label hota hai. So
mm.
that is why older people, I think, become more religious, because even if they are not very religious at a younger age, they start needing something permanent in life.
Maybe there
That's
is
why,
an element of control there also, right? For
like,
example, in my 20s, because I was like super optimistic, energetic,
hmm,
whatever it was. So like for example, मैंने campaigns किए, like मैंने
hmm,
MPs के साथ काम किया है, मैंने save the internet का campaign, like I was one of the people, all the things, right? And I was so energetic and optimistic कि, oh my god, I can do this, I myself can do this,
hmm,
right? But as I got older, over the last few years actually, I realized that I control nothing. I mean nothing. Like like it's a bit meaningless, right? Like I try to do things like these. I talk to people, etc. Jitne bhi logo ko, whatever. But this whole idea of me making a large scale impact which will change something is kind of in the background now. I mean,
acha,
long term, maybe I will, but as that one moment which I used to think, because I was full of energy and optimism, wo kya? So essentially I'm losing control of my own life, right? So
do you think,
initially
like,
optimism and control was the thing.
so
So then
since
now if
you,
I'm losing control, I think why people go to God or a faith or a belief system is because they're like, at least I can say I feel out of control. So maybe that is the one that is controlling my life. So
Hmm.
then therefore you start believing in something and that void is filled, maybe.
I have a very practical solution to this. I don't know
Hmm.
if it'll work for everyone, but it's that I was about to joke that I am as strong as I was at the age of 20, because at the age of 20 I could not lift a huge log. I still can't lift it. So that was a joke. But the point is, if at the age of 20 you are able to do a bunch of things, and you reach the age of 30 and you find your ability to do those things goes away, maybe when we get older, the thing to do is learn to do new things that we did not do at the age of 20. Because then our self image is like, it becomes, okay, I am growing as a person, I'm not
Hmm.
degrading as a person. So
Hmm.
if in the middle of life, around 30, 40, people start learning new skills that they
Hmm.
did not have at a younger age, then this, it might actually give you more of a sense of purpose than just becoming more religious.
I think you're right. I mean, absolutely. Like I'm learning video editing now,
Yeah.
by myself,
Hmm.
and that's great. I learned how
I'm
to
learning
assemble a
cooking.
PC.
I'm learning cooking.
Oh,
I'm sure
okay.
you are
Yeah.
already able
Cooking
to
is a
do it.
perpetual education that I do, like which is like
Acha.
I started very early on cooking.
Yeah, I didn't.
And now
So I'm
I'm
now
like, yeah, I'm making fucking cheese boards, dude. मतलब मैं चीज बोर्ड बनाता हूँ घर पे पानी पूरी बनाया मैंने उस दिन like with the puri. I was like
nice.
pro level stuff.
Nice.
So
Right. Hamza, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my next question is आप
Last question, huh? Last question.
हाँ हाँ लास्ट वन
Huh.
सो एक किसी पुरानी वीडियो में आपने किसी ने आपने या किसी और ने बोला था कि इस रिलीजन इज लाइक अ स्कूटर जो बहुत पहले
कभी
आया
स्टार्ट
और
होता है,
अब
कभी स्टार्ट नहीं होता है.
हाँ मतलब एक इसने ये बोला था पता नहीं मैंने कहाँ सुना था कि बहुत पुराना स्कूटर है और अब बहुत पुराना हो गया है
हम्म.
तो वो खराब हो गया है मतलब वो
हम्म.
पहले सही था अब
हम्म.
वो पुराना हो गया खराब हो गया लेकिन मेरा ये तो अज्यूम कर रहा है कि वो पहले सही था तो मेरा ये
हम्म.
क्वेश्चन था कि जो जितने भी मेजर रिलीजन स्टार्ट हुए क्या वो
हम्म.
गुड इंटेंशन के साथ स्टार्ट हुए थे या
नहीं, मुझे याद है मैंने स्कूटर वाला एग्जांपल दिया था, पर आई डोंट थिंक आई गिव इट इन दिस वे. आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट रिलीजन बीइंग एन अनरिलायबल मेथड टू गेट टू ऑफिस. अगर स्कूटर आज स्टार्ट
hmm.
होता है पर कल नहीं होता है, या परसों होता है फिर उसके बाद नहीं होता है, देन इट्स नॉट अ गुड वे टू कम टू एनी कंक्लूजन अबाउट ट्रूथ और रियलिटी. सो दैट इज व्हाट आई हैड यूज्ड. But as to your other question, whether religion was started with good intentions, I am not like, religions are not fantasy franchises. They grow over a long period of time. They're not the work of a single person or a single group of people, even. They take shape over generations. And sure, many people in those generations will have bad intentions. Many people in those generations will have good intentions. My point is that it is not useful to talk about whether religion was created with good intentions or bad intentions. All I'm interested in is if it is doing good or bad right now. And from my
Hmm.
perspective, it is doing bad right now.
yeah
Also, I would say that instead of ascribing intentions, as you correctly pointed out, understand that religion is but just a bunch of stories mashed together, right? Over a
Yeah.
period of time. A lot of people told stories. कब बताए क्या बताया पता नहीं टेम्पल में बताया रात को सोते वक्त बताया फायर साइड में बताया पता नहीं राइट लाइक
Hmm.
some character changed its whatever and became a monster. And then some people who were invading a village became monkeys.
Yeah.
And like it's random, right? It's like
It's like the
human
MCU.
imagination.
It's
Yeah,
actually worse
it
than the
is.
MCU, because the MCU का जो यूनिवर्स उसको प्लान किया जा रहा है. People are saying नहीं, ये नहीं कर सकते, वो नहीं कर सकते. These things grew randomly. There were multiple versions of the same story sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Harry Potter, will become a religion in 2000 years. You never know. Like, it might morph into something like
Hmm.
there's the Church of Google, right? I mean, it's an
I've
ironic
heard of it.
church,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like, for example, the giant spaghetti monster, right? Like the Pastafarianism, right?
Yeah.
Pastafarianism started as a parody religion. Now, people in Germany are actually fighting for rights to wear colanders on their head.
So I think
And
they're
it
doing
is
that
allowed now.
ironically also. They're doing that ironically, right?
Whatever it is, I mean,
It
like,
has become a real
even if
fight, like.
you're it's become a real fight, right? Like,
Hmm.
why can't I wear a colander and like take a passport photo now?
Hmm.
It's a part of my religious belief.
Yeah.
I will do this. So I mean, that's the thing, like, you can make up stories, and if your story is great and compelling and follows like Shakespearean tropes or whatever, which are
Hmm.
being followed for centuries. Success.
Hmm. Hamza,
Yeah.
does that work?
Huh.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you.
That's a very lackluster response,
No,
Hamza.
he knows he has no time left. Otherwise, he would have probably
Okay.
given us more opinions. But thank you, Hamza. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Right. So that was Hamza. Let me remove him. Next, I have Dhiru Bhai. Hi, Dhiru Bhai.
Hey Vimoh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Hey, so first of all, happy birthday,
Thank you. Thank
and
you so much.
second of all, rest in peace to your Discord server. In
I'll delete
fact,
Oh, you
it. Yeah.
deleted it?
Yeah. Today.
Well done.
I had said that I will delete it on my birthday, so I deleted it
yeah,
today.
right on time. In fact, this is
Well done.
funny because I've basically been on both of your servers, and both of them have got nuked. So, also hi Meghnad,
Discord takes a
nice
lot of
catching
work.
Hello,
up.
Dhirubhai.
Talk to you after a long time.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Long time.
I hope
When
you're
did you guys talk?
visiting.
When did you guys talk before?
Oh,
You
I
were part
was
of my server.
yes,
Oh, okay. Okay.
very yeah. We go back a long way.
Yeah, we go back a long way.
yeah.
Right.
Yes. So I don't know, man. I mean, one of the things that I want to talk about because I've been thinking about it quite a bit myself
Hmm.
is that how usually when something happens, like let's say in Bangalore, for example, of some IT person believing in God or some other nonsense. Everyone's like, how can such educated people, working in like such knowledgeable industries, believe such stupid things? And I'm like, I was thinking about this myself, and I just want to like share what I thought and your views on it as well. So I worked in computers and IT industry for like more than 10 years now, and
Hmm.
initially when I was working there, it's like even though there's a lot of scientific and knowledgeable practices there, I feel like the reason why um, you still end up making or believing nonsensical things is because you essentially compartmentalize yourself and the way of thinking and the way of um, um, structuring things when you're working, and then you don't apply those same things outside of that.
Hmm.
If you look at it from a very scientific
You
perspective,
mean
it's
they are
like,
compartmentalizing their religious beliefs into one category and their professional, modern, educated views into another folder, and therefore that is why they are theists?
I mean, not necessarily theists, but just making bad decisions. It's because kind of ties into the whole critical thinking thing. It's like
Okay.
when you're
So,
doing your work
huh.
because you have to work, and because there's some stakes involved in it. You think about it critically, and you think about all the intelligent stuff about it. But then when you're outside of it, it's like you don't. You go back to the way of thinking that your ancestors taught you or something. And
I
the
think,
no, no,
sorry, just interrupting.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll
Uh,
just tie it back. So the
Go
reason
on,
I
go on.
think that is because once I actually understood philosophy and how it ties into scientific thinking, and how pretty much everything else within the scientific community and technology is all connected, in the sense that it's all about finding the right information, making sure that the right information is passed on, and making sure the right practices are also passed on, right? To do this, I had to like spend a lot of time to thinking about why people are doing certain practices of being making sure that the correct information, the most useful information, is preserved and passed on, and you know continuously correcting their practices as well. And that is not
Hmm.
something that I would think that if people apply that same process outside of work as well, then they'll be making more intelligent decisions. So yeah, it's all
Okay.
about, again, compartmentalizing critical thinking and not applying it everywhere else. So
Okay.
yeah.
Meghnad, what did you want to say?
No, I just wanted to ask Dhirubhai, are you a religious person?
Oh no, I mean, not at all.
Yeah.
Staunchly
So Dhirubhai,
atheist.
did you know that Meghnad is not an atheist?
I mean, I've actually had discussions with him about God
Yeah,
on his
and I think
debates, and,
my
and
views
yeah,
have changed over time. I think you know this, but for the people who don't know, right, um like I was a atheist before, but as I said, like there are certain things that I just do not understand about the universe in general. Plus I felt like um I don't know. It felt like there is like this power around me, which is sort of controlling me, and like it's chaos. I know, like logically thinking, critically thinking, there is no such thing, right?
Hmm.
But just believing in it sort of gives me solace sometimes, in like difficult times, and times where I don't know, like instead of feeling just lost, I feel like, oh no, it यूनिवर्स ने किया है, यूनिवर्स ने बोला था ये होना चाहिए था तो हो गया टाइप्स,
Hmm.
like for example my car got bashed up of like a month ago, right? Someone came, ठोकोफाइड it, left, पता नहीं कब हुआ क्या हुआ, and I got very mad because I love my car. But I got so pissed off in the morning, like right in the morning when I was going like cycling. I got very pissed off when I saw the dent. And then, like, I don't know why this moment happened in my head where it's like maybe the universe wanted it that way. Like maybe this guy, drunk guy, came and tokified it, and maybe वो बाहर जाके कहीं तो भी मर गया होगा types. But it's like that. It's just like my anger is being replaced by this excuse, and I think I'm glad for it because otherwise I would keep angry. I used to
Meghnad,
be a very angry person.
I would like to suggest that that is probably because you have certain conceptions about what is good for you. And
Hmm.
when your brain realizes that you're moving to a mental state which is angry, that is going to prove to be unhealthy for you. It finds a reason and gives it to you in order to, reduce your anger and make you calm
Sure,
again.
I that's the thing. So critically thinking, I thought about this. I did
Hmm.
understand this, right? I
Hmm.
know why I'm doing this. Like
Okay.
I know why my brain is doing this. Exactly
Hmm.
my point, right? But it is still doing this, right? It's
Yeah,
like
that's true.
so. I mean, even if I know the reason that this is an excuse for my brain to sort of cope somehow
Hmm.
with an emotion that might negatively affect me, right?
Hmm.
Um, I find it great. I mean, it's very convenient, right? I don't need to find any more answers after that, right? कि
Yeah.
किसने
So
ठोका है, क्या ठोका
in
है,
a
मैं जाऊंगा पुलिस स्टेशन, all the things are just gone, right? It's like ठीक है यार, हो
hmm.
गया, अब क्या करेंगे?
In a
no, I
larger
mean,
scheme of things, like that might prove damaging, though, no? Won't it? Like if your if your belief in God can say that maybe this is what the universe wanted and it brings you calm, someone else who is not of your bent of mind might take that and think, oh, those people are dying. I should not do anything about it because that's what the universe wants. If
But
they're like,
that does
you have a
happen.
yeah.
That
So
does happen. अब
so the
भगवान ने किया, अब क्या ब्रिज गिर गया, अरे भगवान की
हाँ,
कृपा
भगवान
थी,
ने
क्या
किया,
कृपा
चलो उसी
नहीं,
पार्टी को फिर से वोट देते हैं। बट
कर्स कर दिया,
तो
whatever.
वही सो बिसाइड द पॉइंट बट धीरू भाई का क्वेश्चन हम लोग शायद स्किप कर गए पूरा का पूरा।
no, I mean, what what I was thinking about was different, but I mean, it kind of came back to another thing that the earlier one of your earlier guests was talking about, which is, and what I wanted to talk about also, which is how you become a bit more religious as you grow old as well. And I feel like
That's what, right, Dhirubhai? That's what
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
coming to, right? This
yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah,
mindset change happened to me because, again, as I said earlier, if you were there in the stream earlier, right?
yeah,
Body
I was.
breaking down, trying to find answers, no answers. So therefore, there is something that is controlling me. That is basically it, right? I
Yeah,
feel
I mean,
like my parents,
yeah,
my older people, whoever I knew were like, I wouldn't say atheists, but they were not really taking religion seriously, and now suddenly are taking it seriously. I
Yeah.
find that also simultaneously they are losing a lot of control of their own lives. प्रॉपर्टी
yeah,
डिस्प्यूट हो रहा है, फैमिली में प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, बहुत कुछ होता है, like someone dies, that is a big reason. People getting sick, you can't process it, and then the only thing you can do is go to like this entity in a temple and then just start praying to it, and then it becomes a habit because it actually gives them peace,
Hmm.
right? With that is the
yeah,
one way to deal with it. That's basically what is happening as you grow older, as your complexity of your life increases. I feel like you also start losing control simultaneously as your worldview starts expanding. Many problems come up before you and you can't possibly solve all of them, and then
And
you
by the
feel
way,
helpless.
another thing that happens here is that, like Meghna pointed out,
Hmm.
you grow old, you get more helpless, and then you start seeking refuge in some kind of spiritual notion. In the
Hmm.
case of many people, that's what happened naturally, right? There is helplessness. Maybe there is God, maybe there isn't. Who knows? I don't know everything. My support structure is gone. And then you look at the television set where people are telling you
Hmm.
your religion is dying, and then your fall towards that is accelerated at a rate
That's true.
that was until now impossible. So
Yeah, but I think
gently, under normal circumstances, human beings will lean towards that given social structures and our very nature. But then there are other people who find it very useful to push you into it. So that is also
Hmm.
another factor.
but I think
Interesting.
that that's also like a very dangerous thing, obviously, because just relying on what feels good, and not even being comfortable with not knowing something, and or even just being
Yeah,
helpless.
yeah.
It's very dangerous, precisely because it you're naturally compelled to just like do or believe in like wrong
It's a
things, or
slippery
like
slope.
decent
It's a
things.
slippery
Very,
slope.
very slippery slope.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the weaknesses of humanity also. It's something that we should actually be actively trying to
I
correct
wouldn't
and,
call it
and
a
fight
weakness.
against. Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't call it a weakness. I would call it, it's uh, as you said, it's a slippery slope, and that slope is never disappearing. It will always be there, but it's up
Yeah.
to us whether you want to wholeheartedly jump into it, or accidentally fall into it, or avoid it altogether.
yeah, no,
And
I mean,
like
I feel
one
like
more thing, sorry.
it's yeah, okay, go on.
One thing you are, I think one thing both of you, I think you and Vimo both are assuming that religion does only bad. I would say that sure, like largely yes, because it's a method of mind control. Let's not get away from it, but it is also a method of mind control, right? Which is basically as far as cooperation go, like human society. So Yuval Noah Harari basically says this very well, where he's like, religion being a story, the one thing that we did well as human beings is tell each other stories and find a way to cooperate, right?
Hmm.
The reason why the pyramids were built was because a story was fed into the heads of a lot of people, and they achieved this whole big gigantic structure out of nowhere, right? A lot of monuments that are built, which are big structures which are worshipped, etc., or like just like tourist attractions, became so because of some religious belief that a lot of group of people had, and they built a structure. But the logic behind it might also be that the king realized that, oh, we need some sort of economic activity happening in a particular area, and I can't do anything about it, but I
Hmm.
need to distribute money right now, because it's like incentivizing. It's like, how would you put it, welfare in a way. Right? There are these large number of unemployed people who are fighting amongst each other, disrupting everything. Yeah, let's build a temple in the name of a god, because at least that will keep them focused for a while, and
No,
I'll
And
pay
but
them.
I
Yognath,
have a counter
मेरा
argument though. Mhm.
yeah,
Go
Dhir
on,
bhai,
Vimoh.
go ahead. Go on.
So the counter argument is that so essentially what you're saying is that, yeah, religion was helpful in like essentially helping people come together in order to achieve something greater than what could have been possible before. uh, Maybe 2000 years ago it was fine, and certainly now we have better
Yes,
ways of doing it.
agreed.
Corporations, countries, all of that is much better. The stark difference is that in all the modern ways, like organizations, corporations, nations, at least there's a framework and space for improvement. If there's anything that's not working correctly, you can actually work towards actually reducing the bad things and making it better.
but
In religion there's no scope of that. In fact, it's the
but
opposite.
but
That's where it's
the thing
dangerous.
is, religion is simple. It's simple stories. Like to understand how a corporation works, You need to know a bunch of laws, you need to read a lot of documents, you need to understand maybe like the structure of the corporation, how it functions, all the things. It
Yeah,
takes effort.
but that's the nature of
But
our
with
world
religion it
also.
doesn't.
No, but that's the nature of our world also. Our world is
Sure,
complicated.
it is
And
So
so,
complicated.
can I just jump into
Yeah,
this a little bit and
yeah.
point out something like what Meghnad pointed? Let me say what I agreed with. It's stories.
Hmm.
It helps us come together. It helps us build stuff. But I think religion is corrupted stories. These are stories
Hmm.
that we don't think of as stories. So if we thought of the religion as a story, I would have absolutely no problem with it. But when it becomes, in many people's mind, it becomes a literal description of reality, that is when we start falling into the slippery slope. I made a video yesterday about mythology, magic, and human suffering. It's about how, there are stories in mythology which are full of magic. And the reason they're full of magic is because if there was no magic in it, there would be horrific tragedies. We encounter stories like mother kills baby by throwing it into river or something like that.
Yeah.
In the Mahabharata, there is actually stuff like that. The goddess
Yep.
Ganga takes her babies and throws them into the river. Now, if this story had not been turned into a magical story where there was a reason behind those babies dying, it would be a horrible tragedy. It would be a heart wrenching
Hmm.
story. And because we did not want to undergo that heart wrenching stuff, which is reality, life is terrible, reality is shitty, and we need something to feel happy about, we used magic to make those stories thoda sa band-aid lagaya. If someone wants to use mythology and understand them as just stories, that's beautiful, that's good, that's the only good use for religion, I think. But when we
Hmm.
start falling into the trap of thinking that these stories are different from Harry Potter and Star Wars, that's when we start creating problems for us.
Agreed, agreed. Absolutely
Hmm.
agree. But my
yeah,
my overall
exactly.
point, my overall point here again, like someone as they pointed out, you know, isn't it a line of argument very similar to religious apologists like Osho or Sadhguru, right? My thing is, even when we were talking about Sandeep Maheshwari or whoever it is, right? You know, like someone who essentially gets up on a stage and wants to command a lot of people, like, or get the attention of a lot of people and command them, right? Uh, it will always be super simple what they say, right? It will never be a lecture, it will always be oratory, it will always be like constant sentences which are lies essentially, maybe, but they're stories, right? People tell stories on stage so that a lot
No,
of people,
Meghna,
the
don't you think
lowest common
corporations could?
denominator, understands it and comes together to do something, and
There is
that
a
is what
simple
it is.
version of there is a simple version of a corporation also, right? There's a simple version of like democracy, for example, is a very simple idea. However, if you want
Hmm.
to study it in depth, you have to go into a lot of stuff and you have to
Sure,
be as educated about the constitution as you are. But
sure.
for even people who are not as educated as you are on constitutional matters, democracy makes sense. It's a story. We know it's a story, and yet we
Hmm.
manage to make it work. So
Hmm.
if we use mythology that way without falling into the trap of thinking of it as a literal truth, I think we might be using it the right way. But it's not that, uh, you know, a corporation, understanding a corporation takes more mental effort than understanding a religion, because there are rules and by rules and minor texts and major
Sure.
texts and this guru, their teachings in all religions. But on the most basic level, it's all actually understandable. But
Yeah,
Dhirubhai,
Yeah,
do
and
you have a
Apple,
last question?
Apple ke stores are designed based on Christian principles or something. I was reading, like each of their stores is actually like a church dedicated
Mm.
to the
Yeah,
product.
yeah, yeah.
It's something, you know,
that
like
Chapels
so.
and all.
I would say that's Christian propaganda, but that's just me.
No, no, I
No,
think
but
I have also read about this. I may have read it in a Christian propaganda source, but I have read about this.
no, but Meghna, I'll ask this one question, right? Like you say that,
Dhirubhai, make it a short question and your last question.
sure, take this as thinking for this thing. You said that, even though the world is complex, religion is very simple, and it helps just, give people all they want, right? Uh, Here's my question. Is that the best we can do? Is that the
No, it's
best
not.
that, yeah,
It's by no
okay,
means it's the best we can do, right? I mean, I would
okay.
rather have a situation where we don't have to rely on these very false, very
Mm-hmm.
made up, very patriarchal stories, right? And religion is toxic in a lot of ways, right? You know, like as Vimo pointed out that
Yeah.
example, there's so many, like फीमेल इन्फेंटिसाइड को, कास्ट सिस्टम्स, सब कुछ को तो प्रमोट करते हैं उसमें, राइट? यू नो, लाइक देयर आर हायरार्कीज, देयर इज अ किंग, देयर इज अ प्रजा, ऑल द थिंग्स, राइट? Very toxic. I get that, right? The thing is, it's a simple story which is told for generations, ages, modified, merged together, hodgepodge करके तुमको बेच रहे हैं. Someone is using it to basically control a large number of people. So I understand that. I absolutely understand, and definitely it's not the best way to do it. I mean, I'd rather have like a leader or a religious leader. I wouldn't even call this a religious leader if he's not using religion. So a leader using, say, like something like principles of liberty, right, to essentially also rouse a crowd. That doesn't happen, right? That
Yeah.
is very rare in today's day. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you can go and marry whoever you want. I will tell you a story. I had these very wonderful neighbors who were gay. They were wonderful. La la la. Rather, I would tell a story. You know what? There was this guy who befriended a monkey. Then he got an army of monkeys, and then he went and he burned down a golden palace and saved his wife.
By the way,
Like,
Okay.
I like to point something out, which is that our natural state of being is tribal because we're evolved from monkeys and evolved from apes, ape-like creatures. So it does not take much effort to divide us because we're already quite divided. It takes a lot of effort to pull us back together.
true.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
the
what we should be
politician,
seeking.
the
Yeah.
politician who is giving hateful speeches to divide is actually taking the low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But thank you, Dhiru
So
bhai. Dhiru bhai,
yeah,
हो गया
thank
मुझे
you.
अगले वर्ग के ऊपर जाना होगा.
Okay. Last point. I'm getting married in like 2 weeks, so I'd love to have both
Yes.
of you there.
Congratulations.
Anyway,
Yeah.
We
if you're
shall
in
be there.
Bangalore, yes.
Okay, where?
Actually, Vimoh, you were in Bangalore. You were literally like stones throw away from where I stay. But
Hmm.
anyway, that's for
We
another
shall
time.
see.
Next time we're in Bangalore, I'd be happy to host you. So yeah,
How
thanks,
about this?
guys.
The next time I'm in
Huh.
Bangalore, you get married.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
do
make
the
that
other way
happen.
around. Yeah.
All
Chalo,
right,
thank
guys,
you.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So Dhiru bhai, that was Dhiru bhai. Meghnad, we are at 60 minutes already. Do you have more time to
Hmm.
stay? Because we have
I'm here.
one.
Yeah.
You're here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people waiting.
Sure. Let's go.
Cool. So before I proceed, let me just thank
You tell me
Messi.
when you want to stop, okay? And then I will
I'll.
stop.
So
I think I can do
let
like
me thank.
another half an hour, 40 minutes.
Cool. Let me thank Messi for the 50 rupee ka super sticker and Ajay Kedar for the 200 rupees का सुपर स्टिकर. थैंक यू फॉर द हैप्पी बर्थडे विशेस एवरीवन. विमो भाई हैप्पी बर्थडे, मिठाई खा लेना. अरे अजय केदार जी किस टाइम पे बताया. मैं मिठाई खाने को इस साल के शुरू से ही छोड़ा है मैंने. मैं समोसा, कचौड़ी, मिठाई सब कुछ छोड़ा है. I will probably have a cheating day like once every couple of months when I will splurge. But on most days, my food is going to be quite austere. It's an experiment for this year. Let's see how that goes. But the next
Age,
person,
Vimoh, age.
age of empires, age of empires. The next person is Vivi. Hi, Vivi.
हाय विमो. हाय
What's
मेघनाथ.
up?
Hello.
या मेघनाथ, मैं आपका न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री से मतलब मैं तब से आपको फॉलो करता हूँ. आपका वो जो
Stalker.
कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो सीरीज आता था, तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता था वो. आज के टाइम डिजिटल मीडिया में भी वो सब देखने नहीं मिलता है सेशन.
क्योंकि
तो
मैं ही कर रहा था रे. वीवी क्या करें.
नहीं, और
चला
एक
गया.
भी आया हुआ है, द प्रिंट में भी एक है केवाईसी करके, तो
अच्छा.
Okay.
वो भी अच्छा है. हाँ हाँ, तो एक हाथ दो ही थे और अभी एक ही रही है ऐसा. तो मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था, थोड़ा ये पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चन है क्योंकि आप पॉलिटिक्स की बहुत बात करते हो मीना, तो आप दोनों के लिए वैसे. तो ये जो हिजाब कंट्रोवर्सी हुआ था कर्नाटका में, तो आपको लगता है कि कोई भी इंस्टीट्यूशन में, चाहे वो एजुकेशनल हो या वर्क प्लेस हो या कोई भी हो, वहाँ पे रिलीजियस क्लोथ्स या ये सब सिंबॉलिक चीजें पहन के जाना चाहिए? अगर वहाँ पे स्पेसिफिकली रूल है कि नहीं, ये सब आपको नहीं पहनना है, या फिर ये
वो
रूल है
rules
कि
क्यों
आपको
है?
अलग रूल है, जैसे कि आपको जैसे कॉर्पोरेट में आपको फॉर्मल्स में ही आना है, तो वहाँ पे तो कुछ स्कोप है नहीं, आप रिलीजियस चीज पहन सकते हो.
तो मतलब
I'll let Meghnad answer this first and then I'll say.
No, I would. I mean, okay. So take it with a bit of a context, I guess, कि मैं ना वैसे मतलब बचपन से रेबेलियस आदमी था, तो आई वुड से कि आई वुड फर्स्ट आस्क कि ये रूल क्यों है, like why is this rule even there, and
कॉर्पोरेट्स में तो रूल
I
होता ही
mean
है ना।
हाँ होता है, रूल होता है, आई मीन आई एग्री, आई मीन देयर आर मेनी रूल्स, लाइक यूनिफॉर्म क्यों पहनते हैं, देयर इज अ रीजन बिहाइंड व्हाई पीपल वेयर uniforms, for example, school में, right? Especially in a country like India, because then it doesn't give you an idea of uh, the socio-economic
फाइनेंशियल
background of the
स्टेटस।
person, right? So like you're not looking at another kid and judging them based on their clothes, etc., right? Now,
या
if you want to carry the same logic to religion, I feel like that's wrong, right? For example, like what kind of judgment would you do if you see a Muslim person wearing their religious clothes versus someone like me who doesn't, right? Or if I wear a tika and go to school versus someone who doesn't, right? Will it be bigotry? I mean, like, oh, ये देख ये उस religion का आदमी है तो बुरा आदमी है. Is that what will happen in your head? In that case, it's wrong, right? So I mean, the feeling that you get when you see such symbols, and the feeling that you get that, oh, that religion is an enemy, that person from that religion is an enemy, that is what is wrong, not the person wearing clothes to identify themselves from a particular religion. So I feel like I think that people should be allowed to wear what they want. It's, as a basic liberal, I would say that liberty is important. If people want to do it, do it. I mean,
That's a
मेरे
great
को
book
कुछ
title, Meghnad. Just call it Basic Liberal by Meghnad.
basic liberal. But seriously, right? Like, it's like मेरे को कुछ harm नहीं हो रहा है उससे, right? Like, if someone is wearing a hijab, or if someone is like wearing a topi or a tika or whatever it is, मुझे personally कुछ harm नहीं हो रहा है उससे. I don't think it's a problem.
तो
But
उसमें तो ऐसा होगा कि स्कूल में सब सब अपने अपने रिलीजियस वाले पहन के आएंगे, हिंदू वाले
तो
फिर
already do, people already do that. I mean,
वीवी
Sikh.
वो तो
वीवी
मैस हो
मेरा
जाएगा
पता
ना।
है, मेरा नहीं मैस क्यों, क्या मैस होगा, किस चीज में मैस होगा?
क्या
मेरा
होगा?
पता है ओपिनियन क्या है, मेरा ओपिनियन है
हम्म,
स्कूल्स और कॉलेजेस में किसी भी धर्म का कुछ भी पहन के किसी को नहीं जाना चाहिए, किसी भी धर्म की पूजा नहीं होनी चाहिए, किसी
बराबर।
का भी तिलक नहीं लगना चाहिए, कोई
हम्म.
मंगलसूत्र नहीं पहनना चाहिए, सब लोग ऊपर से नीचे तक स्कूल यूनिफॉर्म में जाएंगे, करोगे?
हाँ, होना चाहिए वैसे, सही बोल रहे हो।
क्यों? Why?
मेरा प्रॉब्लम क्या पता है? तुमने ये जो सवाल उठाया, ये स्पेसिफिकली
हम्म,
हिजाब के बारे में उठाया। तुमने मुझे तिलक के बारे में नहीं पूछा, तुमने मुझे
हम्म.
सरस्वती पूजा और गणेश पूजा के बारे में नहीं पूछा, जो होता है स्कूलों में। मुझे इस
नहीं
इन
नहीं,
प्रिंसिपल
अरे तो
मुझे इन
आपने ऐसा
प्रिंसिपल
क्यों
इससे
समझ लिया कि
क्योंकि तुमने
सॉरी,
सिर्फ
आप
हिजाब
कंप्लीट
की
करें।
बात की, क्योंकि तुमने सिर्फ हिजाब की बात की।
क्योंकि वही कंट्रोवर्सी चल रही है ना। आपने
मैं बोल
ये
रहा हूँ
क्यों
कि
समझा
सारे
मैं बाकी
कंट्रोवर्सी
लोग के खिलाफ नहीं हूँ? आपको ये क्यों लग
क्योंकि
रहा है
तुमने
ऐसा कि मैं बाकी लोग के
अरे
खिलाफ
तो
नहीं हूँ?
क्योंकि तुमने हिजाब की बात ही की भैया, तुमने धर्म के बारे में बात नहीं की, तुमने हिजाब की बात की।
तो अगर किसी स्कूल में कोई भगवा शॉल ओढ़ के जाता था और उसका कंट्रोवर्सी होता था, तो मैं उसको कोट
हुँ।
करता था।
नहीं,
मैं
तुमने
तो
नहीं
आपको एक
किया।
एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ कि कुछ
ये
पहन के
हिजाब
जाना ही
वाले
नहीं
केस में
चाहिए।
भी ये हिजाब वाले केस के दौरान भी हिंदू लड़के
हम्म, हम्म,
सैफ़्रन स्कार्फ़्स ओढ़ के गए थे स्कूल में, और स्कूलों में और कॉलेजेस में अभी नहीं, सालों से पूजाएँ होती रही हैं। मेरे घर के पास जो बैंक है, वहाँ जाता हूँ, जो कैशियर के काउंटर के पीछे अच्छा खासा
हम्म।
मंदिर लगा हुआ है, सारे देवी-देवता
हम्म.
खड़े हैं। किसी के आज तक कभी कंट्रोवर्सी नहीं हुई। पर जब ये हिजाब वाली बात आता है, तो हम लोग कंट्रोवर्सी बोलने लगते हैं। मेरा मानना है
इसमें मैं कुछ बोलूँ
सफाई
आपको?
सुन लो पहले, मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर सफाई करनी है, तो ऊपर से नीचे तक सब साफ करो, मुझे कोई ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं है। पर अगर सिर्फ़ एक धर्म को टारगेट बना के आर्गुमेंट दोगे कि हम लोग धर्म के अगेंस्ट में हैं, जबकि तुम किसी जो मेजर धर्म है, इस मेजॉरिटी धर्म है इस देश का, उसके बारे में किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो रही है, तो मुझे तो हिपोक्रेसी लगेगा वो।
अच्छा, मेरा ये
हुँ,
कहना था कि अभी समझो आप कॉन्वेंट में जा रहे हो, ठीक है? अगर आप
हुँ,
कॉन्वेंट में जाते थे, आपको
हुँ,
पता होगा क्या होने वाला है। वहाँ पे
हुँ,
कैथलिक रिलीजियस प्रेयर होगा, राइट? आपको पता है
हुँ,
वैसा।
हुँ,
तो अगर
हम्म.
आपको वो सब नहीं करना है रिलीजियस चीज, आप ऐसे स्कूल में जाओ ना जहाँ पे ये हो रहा ही नहीं है। आप वैसे स्कूल में एडमिशन ले लो
कौन
हाँ,
जहाँ
से
सो
पे
यू आर
बच्चे को
प्रॉपर
चॉइस
यूनिफॉर्म।
देते हैं पेरेंट्स? सॉरी,
एग्ज़ैक्टली।
कौन से बच्चे को चॉइस देते हैं पेरेंट्स कि कॉन्वेंट स्कूल जाएगा, यहाँ पे जाएगा? पेरेंट्स क्यों
नहीं नहीं,
भेजते
मैं
हैं
उनके
स्कूल
माँ
में
बाप
कि
के लिए बोल रहा हूँ,
no,
वही
I'm
बोल रहा हूँ।
saying कि parents will send the kid on a few things, right? एक तो फीस
हम्म,
कितना है, ज्यादा है, कम है, कितना दे सकते हैं। दूसरा,
हम्म,
डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम होम, right? And the third is educational quality ki kya hai, acha hai kya nahi hai, English सिखाते हैं क्या नहीं है. English is a big factor. कॉन्वेंट स्कूल में लोग मेनली क्यों भेजते थे कुछ सालों पहले, क्योंकि वहां पे इंग्लिश पढ़ाते ही थे, राइट? यू नो, लाइक दैट इज वन ऑफ द प्राइमरी लैंग्वेजेस दे यूज्ड. So that's why convent schools came up. And now what you find is that there are so many options. The school I went to, for example, the second school I went to was a proper Hindu school, right? मैं हमने कभी ईद नहीं मनाया, हम तो मेंशन भी नहीं करते थे ईद है, राइट? यू नो, पता भी नहीं चलता था कि ईद है, राइट? वैसे ही क्रिसमस होता था फॉर सम रीजन, इवन दो वी हैड नो क्रिश्चियन किड्स, क्रिसमस होता था क्योंकि यू नो फेट होता था, ट्री लगाते थे, डेकोरेशंस होता था, तो आई थिंक दैट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग टू डू. यू नो, सरस्वती पूजा होती थी, दिवाली होता था, गणेश चतुर्थी होती थी, लाइक ऑल द थिंग्स होते थे, राइट? एंड ऑन दोज डेज देयर वेर लाइक फेट डेज, यू नो, फेट होते थे ना स्कूल में, वहां पे लोग प्रॉपर ट्रेडिशनल क्लोथ पहन के आते थे, right? On that
You're
particular
talking
day.
about a convent school?
I'm talking about a private school.
Achha.
I went to a private school which was run by the RSS, right?
Okay.
So basically वहां पे किसी ने कोई objection नहीं लिया, and nobody really spoke about this. Again, there were no I guess there were no Christian or Muslim kids per se in my class or wherever in my immediate vicinity. The one Sikh fellow that was there also left. So then it was like all is like great, you know, whatever. But I'm saying that in that case also, I had sort of no problems in my first school where I grew up. There were a lot of people with a lot of religious beliefs. I had no problems with it. I never judged them. This is happening now, I feel, because of the political rhetoric, just plain and simple.
तो वीवी, तुम्हारे सवाल का जवाब मिल गया?
ठीक है, चलेगा. आपका व्यूज भी था. मेरा एक्चुअली ये था कि सॉरी, बोलिए आप.
You don't want it essentially.
नहीं, मेरा है कि फिर कुछ होना ही नहीं चाहिए, मतलब कुछ रिलीजियस कपड़े कुछ ऐसा पहन के जाना ही नहीं चाहिए जहाँ पे स्पेसिफिकली रूल्स मेंशन है कि आप ये कुछ पहन ही नहीं सकते हैं, या एक यूनिफॉर्म दिया गया वो पहन के आइए.
वीवी, अगर कोई आंदोलन करे, अगर कोई, एक सेकंड, लेट मी जस्ट आस्क यू माय हाइपोथेटिकल क्वेश्चन. अगर कोई आंदोलन करे कि सारे स्कूलों से सारे धर्मों के सारे निशान, सारे रिलीजियस फेस्टिवल हटाने हैं, तुम उसका सपोर्ट करोगे?
सारे स्कूल से नहीं, उसका नहीं करूंगा सपोर्ट में.
क्यों?
जिनको रखना है वो रखे ना.
हाँ, तो अभी फिर
जहाँ पे मैं वहाँ क्वेश्चन करो जहाँ पे क्लियरली ये इसमें मेंशन था कि आप नहीं पहन के जा सकते हैं. जो कर्नाटका का जो एक्चुअली स्कूल, जो कॉलेज था, एक्चुअली उसको लोग स्कूल बोलते हैं, क्योंकि वहाँ गांव में 12th
कॉलेज में. देखो, मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि तुम्हारा घुमा फिरा के एग्जाम्पल वही हिजाब वाले पे आ जाता है. एंड आई फॉर द लाइफ ऑफ मी कैन नॉट क्लोज माई आईज टू द फैक्ट कि ये कंट्रोवर्सी मैन्युफैक्चर की गई थी सैफरन ब्रिगेड द्वारा.
ऑफ कोर्स
ये मैन्युफैक्चर की गई थी, और ये इश्यू.
लेकिन वो इनविटेशन तो दे रहे हो ना आप, अगर वो सामने का कोई और रिलीजन पहन के आ रहा है.
नहीं, वो इनविटेशन नहीं दे रहा.
क्या
अगर मैं
invitation
अपने
है?
अगर एक व्यक्ति अपने धर्म के कपड़े पहन के जा रहा है, वो दूसरे को थोड़ी बोल रहा है जा तू भी पहन के आ. उसका मर्जी, वो पहने ना पहने. पर इसको रोकने का क्या लॉजिक है? कोई नहीं, किसी ने आज तक स्कूल में किसी.
मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ, वहाँ पे रूल है कि आप नहीं पहन सकते, और फिर वो तो उनको जान क्यों है, मतलब उन्होंने बनाया, उनके मैनेजमेंट ने जो भी है.
बट क्यों बनाया? लाइक डिड यू आस्क व्हाई?
नहीं, वो तो हम पूछते नहीं, रूल क्यों बनाया.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, तो कॉर्पोरेट का जो बोल रहे थे आप, फॉर एग्जांपल, कि कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस में आपको एक ड्रेस कोड होता है, जाना पड़ता है, whatever. I'm thinking consulting business, right? उसके पीछे कुछ लॉजिक होता है ना. हाँ, मतलब उसके पीछे कोई लॉजिक होता है ना.
लॉजिक तो वहाँ पे भी नहीं होता है.
क्या लॉजिक नहीं होता है?
मतलब बहुत सारी कंपनीज है जहाँ पे आप कैजुअल पहन के भी जा सकते हैं, बट बहुत कंपनीज है वहाँ पे आपको स्ट्रिक्टली फॉर्मल पहनना पड़ता है. इसकी वजह क्या लॉजिक है
वहां पे? लॉजिक
वो तो नहीं है ना.
किसी का वेम और फैंटेसी है. किसी ने डिसाइड किया मेरी कंपनी के अंदर मैं किस प्रकार के लोग देखना चाहता हूँ, ये लोग सब नीले दिखेंगे, ये लोग सब लाल दिखेंगे.
तो एज अ कैंडिडेट मैं ये बोलूंगा कि सॉरी बोलिए आप.
No, I'm saying that this whole thing can also be one of the reasons. For example, in a consulting job, one of the reasons can be also कि अगर आप एक client facing job में हो, तो the client shouldn't judge you based on your personal identifiers. They should judge you based on who you represent. And as a company with multiple people with multiple beliefs, etc., maybe the company wants to put up a front ki the only thing that you should care about is this company, right? So the client also gets that sort of
Hmm.
message, right? In that case, that rule I think makes sense, right? I mean, in that case, right, कि
और
अगर
एक चीज़
कोई
बेसिक ये भी है ना कि कंपनी के जो कंपनी में जाते हैं ना, वो कंपनी के भले के लिए जाते हैं। जो स्कूल में जाते हैं, वो अपने भले के लिए जाते हैं। कोई भी स्कूल का
हाँ,
नाम रोशन करने के लिए स्कूल में नहीं जाता। द पर्पस ऑफ दीज़ 2 प्लेसेस इज़ डिफरेंट।
ओके।
ठीक है विवेक?
ठीक है, ओके। थैंक यू सो मच। मैं खाली
थैंक
आपका
यू,
व्यू
थैंक यू।
पॉइंट जानना था बस। बाय।
जी, थैंक
थैंक्स,
यू।
बाय।
दैट वाज़ विवी और मैंने 7 लोगों की बात कही इसलिए डर के 4 लोग चले गए, हमारे पास सिर्फ 3 लोग हैं। बट बिफोर वी गेट टू दैट लेट मी जस्ट थैंक Apurv Varshni for the 200 rupee super chat. Thank you, Apurv. Much appreciated. And Samarth for the $5 super chat. Happy birthday, Vimoh. As you have stopped eating unhealthy food, दारू पी लेना. दारू पीता ही नहीं मैं. दारू बहुत दिन से नहीं पी. I think the last time I had daru, it was more than a decade ago. That too socially. And lastly but not leastly, Valkyrie, thank you for the $2 super chat. Religious symbols in schools, prayers in assembly. Yeah. जो स्कूल सरकारी स्कूलों में जो प्रेयर होती है, उसमें असतोमा सद्गमय वगैरह क्यों होता है?
या
राइट? राइट?
हमारे यहाँ
दैट्स
पे ओम भूर्भुवः स्वहा सुबह से चलता था।
सुबह च वो तो फिर भी मतलब समझ सकता हूँ आरएसएस वो रन स्कूल है। मैं प्रॉपर सरकारी स्कूल्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, नॉट इवन इन बीजेपी टाइम्स,
हाँ,
इन
हाँ,
लाइक प्रीवियस
एब्सोल्युटली।
टाइम्स।
हुँ,
सो द नेक्स्ट पर्सन इज़ अंकित कैंथ।
Hi
हाय
Vimoh.
अंकित।
Hi
हेलो।
Meghnath.
हेलो।
Vimoh, happy birthday.
थैंक यू।
Maybe God bless you, maybe not. And
Nice
Meghnath, you're
leader.
the second content creator I'm talking to. First is the Vimoh. I talked to him last year in the December week. Maybe he remembers, maybe not. But
I do remember speaking with you, I just don't remember when. When you say last year, you mean last month, right?
लास्ट वीक बिल्कुल दिसंबर के
हाँ,
आई
तो वो
थिंक
लास्ट
दिसंबर
ईयर
में
मत बोलो,
सेकंड
लगता है
लास्ट और
3
थर्ड
7
लास्ट स्ट्रीम इट वाज।
ओके,
चलो कोई नहीं,
ओके,
मैं तो अपने क्वेश्चन तक भूल गया बिकॉज आई वाज लिसनिंग टू कन्वर्सेशन फ्रॉम लास्ट 40 मिनट्स. बट
ओके।
नाउ आई हैव अ डिस्कशन फॉर द टॉपिक व्हिच यू वर डिस्कसिंग राइट नाउ, लाइक वही रिलीजियस वाला स्कूल वाला. मेरे इसमें दो तीन छोटे छोटे पॉइंट है, फिर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है मैं वो आपसे कवर कर लूंगा. एक तो जो मेघनाथ ने जो पॉइंट रेस किया था कि एक ड्रेसिंग कोड का सिस्टम स्कूल में इसलिए है ताकि सबको एक बराबरी वाला स्टेटस मिले. लेकिन मेघनाथ
अपीयरेंस
मैंने
में।
अपीयरेंस में करेक्ट करेक्ट कि भाई आपको देख के लगे यार इसके कपड़े तो वैसे हैं या वैसे हैं तो ये गरीब. इसमें मैंने भी अपने दोस्तों से डिस्कशन कर रखी है, तो इसमें मेरे दो पॉइंट है. यार हमें दिखता तो वैसे भी था. एवरी
हाँ,
स्कूल इन इंडिया हैज
हुँ,
अ ड्रेसिंग कोड. उसके अंदर
या
I have seen my friends who get their trousers, their shirts, their belt, their ties hand down from the elder
या
brother or elder sister to the. तो वो तो टॉपिक वो तो आपका इट इज वही है ना कि वेस्टेज है, वो तो रिडंडेंट पॉइंट हो गया वो वाला. तो कि अगर आप बोले कि यार कैजुअल क्लोथ अगर कर दें तो आपको देखने में मिलेगा यार वो तो जीन्स में आ रहा है, वो तो पता नहीं कोई पैंट पहन के आ रहा है, पापा जैसे पैंट पहन के आ रहा है. ऐसा ना हो इसलिए हम ड्रेसिंग कोड को सेम कर देते हैं. लेकिन जो
तो
डिफरेंस है, सॉरी सॉरी हाँ जो डिफरेंस है वो तो अभी भी आपको दिख रहा है ना, वो दैट इज स्टिल अपेरेंट, वो तो छुपा है नहीं.
आई थिंक इट्स अ
नो,
इंटेंडेड
आई
गोल, राइट?
डिसएग्री अ लिटिल बिट, बट
हाँ
गो ऑन।
आई करेक्ट 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 इंटेंट वाज राइट. मैं इंटेंट को बिल्कुल नहीं कह रहा कि इंटेंट गलत थी, लेकिन
हुँ,
अगेन इंटेंट का फायदा क्या जब उस इंटेंट का कोई रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा. तो
हुँ।
आई
सो व्हाट
आई
डू यू
टोटली एग्री विद द इंटेंट, लेकिन उस इंटेंट का फायदा नहीं हो रहा ना. तो वही एक होता है ना कि पत्थर पे सर मारने वाली बात है, यू नो इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू मूव.
अंकित, डू यू हैव अ बेटर अल्टरनेटिव?
हाँ, अब यहाँ पे आके स्लिपरी स्लोप स्टार्ट हो जाता है. अब आई से कि यार कैजुअल क्लोथ भी अगर आप कर दोगे
हुँ।
तो डिफरेंस तो वहां भी दिखेगा.
डू यू
नहीं,
माय
थिंक
मेरा
पॉइंट
कैजुअल क्लोथ्स में
अब
एक सेकंड, डू यू थिंक कैजुअल क्लोथ्स में डिफरेंस ज़्यादा दिखेगा कंपेयर्ड टू यूनिफॉर्म्स?
हाँ अब इसका विमो आई सीरियसली मेरे पास कोई डिग्री नहीं है नापने के लिए कि किसमें ज्यादा दिखेगा किसमें कम दिखेगा.
हुँ,
बिकॉज
बट
डर्टी
लॉजिकली
डर्टीनेस की
अगर आप
डिग्री
सोचोगे,
हुँ,
नहीं
लॉजिकली
लॉजिकली अगर
सी
आप सोचोगे तो एक
अब
यूनिफॉर्म है और एक कैजुअल क्लोज है, राइट? तो
हुँ।
विच विल हाइड द इनइक्वालिटीज मोर लॉजिकली?
सी व्हाट आई बिलीव इज अ worn out shirt is a worn out shirt. does
वो
not
तो
matter
है,
it's white color, it's black color.
yeah.
अगेन अब देखो, मे बी मैं शायद इस चीज को ना डिफेंड कर पाऊं कि इसका ऑल्टरनेटिव क्या है. माय ऑल्टरनेटिव वाज कि इफ किड्स आर गेटिंग फेमिलियराइज्ड विद द सोसाइटी, क्या डिफरेंस है, तो लेट देम बी ना. अगर हम बच्चों को स्कूल में पढ़ने के लिए
No,
भेजते हैं,
नो नो नो
no,
नहीं
no,
नहीं नहीं
no,
नहीं
no,
नहीं,
no.
अच्छा अच्छा, नो
हम लोग
एनआरकी मत समझना इस चीज को, डोंट लिंक इट टू द एनआरकी.
नहीं नहीं
बट
नहीं,
व्हाट आई
अंकित,
वांट
सॉरी,
टू से, सॉरी, हाँ प्लीज प्लीज.
एक जस्ट यही पॉइंट, आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू इंटरप्ट यू बिकॉज द पॉइंट ऑफ अ स्कूल, राइट, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि इट्स अ स्पेस जहां पे लर्निंग को इंपॉर्टेंस देना चाहिए, जहां पे बच्चे जाते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स सोशल इंटरेक्शन के लिए भी जाते हैं, there's no two ways about it, but of course the first primary intention of going to school is education, right? अब education receive करते वक्त they will try to remove all and every sort of distraction which will you know basically भटकाएंगे तुमको, right? In India especially, right? I'm talking about specifically India. हमारे यहाँ पे basically थोड़ा अथॉरिटेरियनिज्म है ही, राइट, बट एट द सेम टाइम हमारे यहाँ पे उतना ज्यादा इनइक्वालिटी भी है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई अग्री विथ योर पॉइंट जहां पे आपने बोला कि मेरे भी क्लास में कुछ लोग थे जिनके शर्ट्स वॉर्न आउट दिखते थे मुझे, मेरे भी क्लास में कुछ लोग थे जिनका ऑफ वाइट शर्ट था, वो हैंड डाउन ही था, मुझे पता था, राइट, आई मीन यू कुड सी इट. बट एट द सेम टाइम इन योर हेड, राइट, इन योर हेड you have this idea ki no, I mean I'm in a school, I'm not sort of able to differentiate that well, right, between our economic status, even caste. For example, India mein caste is a big reality there, right? To hide caste, this is very important, right? Which is actually a legit way to do things in an educational institution.
Yeah.
I
And
totally accept. And let me tell you, I belong to a scheduled caste category. और मेरे कपड़ों से देख के किसी ने नहीं पहचाना, मेरे नाम से देख के पहचाना.
वो है, that's a big
उसको कहाँ
point,
छुपाऊं
हाँ
मैं? The
अंकित,
point is उसको कहाँ छुपाऊं मैं?
absolutely.
Ankit,
और
I
But
दूसरी
think
चीज,
if
और
I
दूसरी
can just
चीज, हाँ,
if I
बिकॉज
can
हाँ
interrupt and
विमो
make
प्लीज.
one point, it is that हम लोग स्कूल में बच्चों को सिर्फ ये इसलिए नहीं भेजते क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं कि वो जाने की दुनिया है क्या. हम लोग उनको ये भी बताते हैं कि दुनिया कैसी होनी चाहिए. अगर एक
करेक्ट.
बच्चा एक स्कूल में जाता है और वहाँ पे उसको यूनिफॉर्म्ड बच्चे मिलते हैं, तो बच्चे की माइंड में एक क्वेश्चन तो आएगा, साला हम ये अजीबो-गरीब सब कपड़े पहन के स्कूल क्यों आ रहे हैं? सो उसका जवाब उसको मिलेगा कि हमें इक्वल दिखाने की कोशिश की जा रही है, और उससे बच्चे को कम से कम ये पता चलेगा कि हमें इक्वल दिखना चाहिए, हमें इक्वल होना चाहिए. सो बच्चों को अपनी मर्ज़ी के कपड़े पहन के स्कूल आने देना, वंडरफुल आइडिया. बट जब एक बच्चा स्कूल जाता है और देखता है कि हर कोई कपड़े पहन रहा है अपने फाइनेंशियल या अपने कास्ट या अपने सोशल बैकग्राउंड के हिसाब से, और साफ-साफ पता चल रहा है कौन गरीब है, कौन गरीब नहीं है, तो बच्चे को लगेगा कि ये जो डिस्टिंक्शंस हैं, ये ए नेचुरल हैं और बी इनमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. पर जब हम बच्चों को यूनिफ़ॉर्म पहनने के लिए कहते हैं, मैंडेटरी बनाते हैं, हम बच्चों को एक मैसेज भी दे रहे होते हैं कि या वो एक परिवार से है, तू एक परिवार से है, उसके कपड़े देख के शायद कुछ पता चल रहा है, शायद तेरे कपड़े पे देख के कुछ पता चल रहा है, पर पता चलना नहीं चाहिए.
नहीं
सो
चाहिए.
दैट आई थिंक
You
इज़ द
know,
गोल.
Vimoh,
कैन आई
the funny
काउंटर
thing
यू
is
ऑन दिस पॉइंट?
हमारे स्कूल में the one day you could actually wear colorful clothes was your
बर्थडे.
birthday, right?
हाँ,
And
सेम
birthday
हियर,
पे
सेम
सब
हियर,
लोग सच के आते थे,
सेम
like
हियर,
so
सेम हियर. और
everyone looked
सबको
great
चॉकलेट
on
बाँटते
their
थे.
करेक्ट.
birthday.
करेक्ट.
या
बट
चॉकलेट
विमो,
बांटते थे,
जैसे
right?
व्हेन यू से कि यू वांट टू you want your kids to see कि in a society everybody is equal and a school is a good place for it. I totally agree. जब आपको एक ही बेंच पे बैठ के आपको सेम एजुकेशन मिल रही है, लेकिन जब बच्चा स्कूल से बाहर आता है वो डिस्टिंक्शन खत्म हो जाती है ना. So don't you think that
हाँ.
is confusing them more?
नो इट इज़ नॉट,
इसमें
बिकॉज़
So
स्कूल
that
में
is
आप देखो,
देखो.
you are giving your kids two side of society. आप एक बच्चे को
हुँ,
दो तरह की दुनिया दिखा रहे हो.
हुँ,
एक दुनिया स्कूल के अंदर है, जहाँ
हुँ,
पे वो देखता है कि यार ये तो सारे बच्चे एक जैसे हैं,
हुँ,
ठीक है. वो बच्चा जब स्कूल के बाहर जाता है,
हुँ.
कॉलेज जाएगा, अपनी किसी यूनिवर्सिटी में जाएगा, अपने किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन को जॉइन
तो
करेगा, वहां पे जाके वो डिस्टिंक्शन खत्म हो जाएगा. तो
no,
डोंट यू
नहीं,
but
पर अंकित
Ankit,
उसके उसके मन में
at that time I would say that person is a little more mature than in school to actually understand these
बट
differences. I mean, I
मेरे साथ
agree India में नहीं
इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन
होता
तो
है,
हो ही चुकी है ना, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन तो
हो
हो ही
चुका
चुकी
है,
है ना उसके
I
दिमाग में.
agree. You know, it's a fig leaf, let's put it that way. The uniform is a fig leaf, you know, like
हुँ,
it might
इट्स
be
एग्जैक्टली अ फिग
achieving
लीफ.
objectives, it's not achieving objectives. Again, it differs from school to school. कैसे क्या यूनिफॉर्म उस पे भी डिपेंड होता है, कौन से टाइप के शूज है वो भी डिपेंड होता है, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट स्कूल आई
और
वेंट टू
ये भी
वाज
है
लाइक
ना कि जब
फैंसी एज शूज वी हैड टू वेयर,
जब
लाइक
बच्चा
स्नीकर्स।
जब बच्चा स्कूल जाता है तो उसके माइंड में होता है कि यहाँ मैं कुछ ऐसा सीखने जा रहा हूँ जो मुझे बाहर पता नहीं चलेगा। कोई भी बच्चा खेल के मैदान में सबको देख के मतलब कुछ ऑब्वियसली इंप्रेशंस क्रिएट करेगा, पर उसके माइंड में एक डिस्टिंक्शन होता है कि ये स्कूल है और ये स्कूल के बाहर की दुनिया है, और स्कूल में मैं जाता हूँ सीखने के लिए मुझे कि मुझे कैसे एग्जिस्ट करना है। सो आई वंडर इफ दैट हेल्प्स।
नहीं, बट आई गेट दैट, लेकिन दो दुनिया होने का आपके साथ होने वाली ट्रीटमेंट से क्या फर्क पड़ता है? इफ यू आर लिविंग इन
आई
टू
मीन
वर्ल्ड्स, लेट्स से वन इज योर स्कूल वर्ल्ड एंड वन इज योर आउटसाइड स्कूल वर्ल्ड, व्हाट डज मेक अ
अच्छा
डिफरेंस दैट हाउ शुड आई बी
अंकित,
ट्रीटेड?
तुम जब
अंकित
स्कूल
एक
जाते
सॉरी।
थे, मुझे एक बात बताओ, सुनो सुनो, एक मिनट, मे बी आई कैन हेल्प विद दिस बिकॉज देयर
या
इज अ
या
मेटाफर। इफ यू गो टू स्कूल and you take out a book and you sit in front of someone and you listen to them and you do what they ask you to do, are you in a different frame of mind than you are in a playground where there is no authority figure telling you what to do?
नहीं, ऑब्वियसली, क्योंकि उस टाइम का जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट होता है वो डिफरेंस होता है ना।
I think
व्हेन
that
यू आर
context is what hammers this in. I think that context matters.
करेक्ट, दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट मैटर्स, लेकिन कॉन्टेक्स्ट मैटर्स करता है कि लेकिन जो उसका बेस है, जो फाउंडेशन है,
Hmm.
जब हम ह्यूमन ट्रीटमेंट की बात, ह्यूमैनिटी की बात करते हैं, तो आई
Hmm.
बिलीव दैट ह्यूमैनिटी इज अ फाउंडेशनल आइडिया।
Hmm.
इट्स नॉट द इट्स द आइडिया ऑन विच थिंग्स आर बिल्ड अपॉन।
Hmm.
ह्यूमैनिटी कोई टीयर टीयर वाला आइडिया नहीं है, कि टॉप टीयर वाला आइडिया नहीं है कि भाई सब कुछ अचीव कर लो फिर ह्यूमैनिटी आ जाएगा। पहले आप में ह्यूमैनिटी होना चाहिए, उसके बाद जाके आप उसके ऊपर चीजें बिल्डअप करते हो। So when me and Vimoh are sitting in a school and Vimoh asked me a question and the same
Hmm.
guy asked me to play outside the school,
Hmm.
कॉन्टेक्स्ट डिफर करता है किस चीज में, कि जब वो पढ़ने बैठेगा तो मैं उसको सीरियसनेस से पढ़ाऊंगा, लेकिन जब हम खेलने जाएंगे तो हम एक हंसी मजाक वाले मूड से खेलेंगे। लेकिन विमो जैसे मुझे पढ़ते टाइम ट्रीट करेगा और जैसे मुझे प्ले ग्राउंड पे ट्रीट करेगा, वो ट्रीटमेंट तो मैं सेम चाहूंगा ना।
Hmm.
ठीक है, अब
No, I
विमो
think you have a
मुझे
point,
क्लास में
but I
बैठ के
think the
जो
point, Ankit, you have a
क्लास में बैठ
point,
के विमो
and
अगर मुझे देखेगा, वो देखेगा कि यार ये तो मेरे इक्वल है क्योंकि सेम
Hmm.
कपड़े पहन के बैठा है।
Hmm.
लेकिन क्लास के बाहर जब वो
विमो
मुझे देखेगा, तो वो देखेगा कि नहीं यार इसके तो ये है, इसमें ये इस कैटेगरी से आता है, ये इतना गरीब है, ये इतना वो है।
Okay, so
Why
Ankit, tell me
to
this. Ankit,
shield
tell me this.
Vimo from that?
I got what you're saying. Tell me this. बच्चा क्लास में है, बच्चा प्लेग्राउंड में है। क्लास में उसको एक अथॉरिटी फिगर कह रहा है कि इक्वालिटी इज़ अ गुड आइडिया।
Correct.
प्लेग्राउंड में एक अथॉरिटी फिगर उसको कह रहा है कि इक्वालिटी इज़ नॉट अ गुड आइडिया, और कोई नहीं कह रहा और वो इस कंक्लूजन पे पहुंच रहा है, राइट? You're saying uniform should not be there. So now this thing is happening in both places. Is this thing happening in both places not worse than this thing happening in at least just one place?
I can
फिग लीफ,
agree on that
एज़
कि
यू सेड
पाइल अप
फिग
हो
लीफ,
जाएगा
राइट?
उसके ऊपर, पाइल अप
फिग
हो
लीफ, मैं
जाएगा
फिग
उसके
लीफ की
ऊपर।
बात कर रहा हूँ। अगर एक
करेक्ट।
सिचुएशन खराब होनी ही है 2 जगह पे, तो क्या ये बेटर नहीं है कि वो एक जगह पे उतनी खराब ना हो?
तो
No, but you know, I'm going to argue beyond uniforms a little bit यहाँ पे, right,
या
ओके।
Ankit?
श्योर
So
श्योर।
um, so basically, Vimo, I sent you वो private chat में एक
हाँ
link
हाँ, वो
भेजा है।
एनसीईआरटी का लिंक आया कोई।
7th ग्रेड सीबीएसई का चैप्टर है, उसका पेज 7 देख लेना। उसमें they have said कास्ट के बारे में, right? You know, which is basically they have given a story. They're talking about essentially how caste exists in India and how terrible it is and how we need to all be equal, etc., etc. You know, like civics book, typical school में पढ़ाते हैं सीबीएसई में, right?
अदर काइंड्स
If
ऑफ
you look
इक्वालिटी।
at recognizing dignity, like all the equality, right? You know,
या श्योर
social,
श्योर श्योर।
cultural, right? So basically मेरा point, larger point ये था इसमें कि in this chapter what they teach us is how it should be, how ideally our society should function. Everybody should have a right to vote, everybody should have equal rights, nobody should be discriminated against based on caste, religion, whatever their identifiers are, etc., right? That is what our civics book 7वीं कक्षा में 12 साल के बच्चे को पढ़ा रहा है, right? Now think about it this way, when they grow up, how likely is it that they will, if they are from an upper caste, you know, a lot of people who are basically saying कि reservation गंदा है, you know, why
करेक्ट।
is it there, all of the things, right? तो ये जो 7वीं कक्षा में पढ़ाया गया था कि you know why reservation is important,
उसको
पूरा
घंटा फर्क नहीं
historical
पड़ा,
context दिया था, सब कुछ दिया था, वो तो भूल जाते हैं ना लोग।
वो घंटा फर्क नहीं पड़ा ना उसका तो।
That's what I'm
हाँ,
saying. So
it
in a way, what a school is supposed to do, and they do it with uniforms, they do it with education, is that they are trying to say that, oh look, this is how an ideal society should be, where we are all equal. Teacher will treat us all well, equally. Everybody will have the same rights. सबको उसी मिठाई का डब्बा मिलेगा, एक सबको एक ही टाइप का लड्डू मिलेगा, like एक एक को चॉकलेट और दूसरे को लड्डू नहीं मिलेगा, right? That is what the school is trying to tell you right at the beginning, right? In India, at least, that is like basically a secular notion of education is what you're getting, right? An equal notion of education is what you're supposed to get.
but
Now
isn't that the wrong
obviously
definition
implement
of
नहीं होता है.
equality? It's the wrong definition equality, na?
That's what I'm saying. Equality is always an ideal, na? An ideal, right, which we have to move towards. So uniform, wearing a uniform is also a move towards that ideal. Now
But
it's an
very
ideal.
frankly, Meghnad, I can recall your constitution में, I think in your constitution वाली series you covered once. उसके अंदर मैं आपका एग्जांपल लूंगा. I don't know, मैंने आपके एग्जांपल में सुना था या विकास दिव्यागीति सर के एग्जांपल में सुना था. He said that equality is not giving two people equal amount of things. It is giving one person more than the other who has not been given a particular benefit for a past, for a
It's about
last 4, 5,
equalizing.
10, 100 years.
Right. It's
चलो
about
कोई नहीं,
equalizing.
I won't take your much time. And ironically जो मेरा सेकंड को जो मेरा मेन क्वेश्चन था जो मैं पूछने के लिए आया था इस पे, जिसके और मैं पढ़ भी रहा हूँ. आई एम रीडिंग राइट नाउ जाति व्यवस्था एंड प्रतिसत्ता. इट इज रिटन बाय पेरियार ईवी रामास्वामी. मतलब कोई प्रमोद रंजन जी हैं, उन्होंने इनका कंपाइल किया है इनका काम. तो इसके अंदर मैं जाति व्यवस्था से रिलेटेड एक चीज पढ़ रहा था. उन्होंने कहा कि भाई कहने को तो हम खाली 4 जातियों के बारे में पढ़ते हैं, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम ब्राह्मण एंड एंडिंग विद दी शूद्रास, लेकिन शूद्रास के अंदर भी इतनी सारी कैटेगरी क्यों है? एंड कोइंसिडेंटली कोइंसिडेंटली विमो का ही उस टाइम मैंने जो विमो शॉर्ट क्लिप्स डालता है कन्वर्सेशंस वाले, उसके अंदर मैंने एक बंदे के साथ इनका कन्वर्सेशन सुना था जिसके अंदर इंटरकास्ट मैरिज की बात हो रही है.
पिछले हफ्ते,
हाँ पिछले हफ्ते डाला था मेरे ख्याल से आपने. तो उसके अंदर उसने जो डिबेट ये थी कि क्या इंटरकास्ट मैरिज से आप कास्ट सिस्टम को खत्म कर सकते हो. और कोइंसिडेंटली उस टाइम मैं ये चैप्टर ये बुक पढ़ भी रहा था. तो बॉटम लेवल पे जितनी भी सब कास्ट बना दी है निचली जाति की, वो मुझे आई वाज वेरी शॉक्ड टू लर्न दिस कि वो इंटरकास्ट मैरिज जैसी बनी है. चांडाल, चमार, ये सारी कैटेगरीज बनी है. क्यों? क्योंकि उस टाइम पे इंटरकास्ट मैरिज हुई थी. इसका मैंने स्पेसिफिक क्लिप भी डाल के रखा हुआ है. इन्होंने इसके अंदर 2 किताबों की बात की है, अभिज्ञान कोसाक और अभिज्ञान चिंतामणि, और हिंदू पंडितों द्वारा लिखित अन्य पुस्तकों में देखा जा सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर चंडाल किसी ब्राह्मणी के साथ रहता है और इस रिश्ते से पैदा होने वाले बच्चे को चमार अथवा सिकिलियार कहा जाता है, जो कि चमड़े का काम करने वाले को बेसिकली बोला जाता है. और चंडाल अपने आप में एक जाति है जो कि इंटरकास्ट मैरिज से बनाई गई है. सो आई वाज लिटरली शॉक. अब आई डोंट नो कि क्योंकि मैंने ये अभिज्ञान कोसाक और अभिज्ञान चिंतामणि जो इन 2 किताबों का जो रेफरेंस है तमिल के लिटरेचर है, जितना मैंने रिसर्च किया, सर्च किया इनके ऊपर. एंड अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई डोंट रीड तमिल. तो बस ये एक पॉइंट था कि इंटरकास्ट मैरिज के अंदर भी हमने तोड़ निकाल दिया कि उनको भी हमने जातियां बना दी. तो इंटरकास्ट मैरिज वाला पॉइंट भी फेल हो गया कास्टिज्म खत्म करने का.
नहीं,
तो
फेल तो नहीं कहूंगा मैं फेल तो नहीं कहूंगा. मैं ये कहूंगा कि हम लोग देखो, अभी पिछले हफ्ते जिसकी बात तुम कर रहे थे, जिसके साथ मैं बात भी कर रहा था, उससे पहले कोई और आया था जो ये कह रहा था कि बहुजन मूवमेंट फेल हो गया क्योंकि ये हो गया और वो हो गया, ये लोग उनसे मिल गए, वो लोग इनसे मिल गए. कोई तुम लोग फेलियर का जो डेफिनेशन बना रहे हो ना, वो इतना परफेक्ट है कि उसके हिसाब से तो आज तक दुनिया में कोई भी चीज सक्सीड नहीं हुई. हर चीज में फ्लॉज रहेंगे.
फेल हो गया, पीपल से मार्क्सिज्म
Exactly.
फेल हो गया. बट दिस जो लेबर को जो राइट्स मिले हुए हैं वो क्यों मिले हैं? जो यूनियन राइट्स जो मिले हुए हैं वो क्यों मिले हुए हैं?
अगर बहुजन मूवमेंट फेल हुआ होता तो इस समय हम लोग बैठ के कास्ट के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे होते. मैं अपने बबल में होता, तुम अपने बबल में होते, हम लोग बात नहीं कर रहे होते. पर ये जो फेल हो गया, हम लोग कितने ईगरली बोलते हैं जब हम लोग उसके बेनिफिट से अवगत नहीं है. राइट? मतलब तुम शायद हो, मैं तो डेफिनेटली नहीं हूँ. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि किसी चीज़ को फेलियर डिक्लेयर करना बहुत आसान होता है जब उसके पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट्स को मैंने एक्सपीरियंस नहीं किया है. तो हम लोग फेल नहीं बोल सकते. श्योर, किसी भी सिस्टम में फ्लॉज हो सकते हैं, किसी भी सिस्टम में कुछ ऐसे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में ऐसे एरर्स हो सकते हैं जिसकी वजह से कुछ कॉम्प्लिकेशंस क्रिएट हो जाएं. पर उसको मैं फेलियर नहीं कहूंगा.
And also the entire point of an intercaste marriage is the destruction of caste, as I mean
Yeah.
Ambedkar said na ki intercaste marriage se hi destruction ho sakta hai, because his whole thing is ki, I mean logically speaking, again I'm not paraphrasing him or quoting him, but from what I understood from what he was saying is that अगर intercaste marriage करोगे तो दो traditions mix हो जाएंगे, clash होंगे, and essentially none of them will be able to follow any of them, and therefore the inequalities will be removed, right? Which is like social traditions etc. या तो mix हो जाएंगे, या तो both follow करेंगे, या तो कुछ भी follow नहीं करेंगे,
If you
right?
can't
So the
beat them,
whole
join them.
essentially it's like him trying to create chaos, let's put it that way. In the caste
Entropy
system,
की तरफ society
destruction
को
by
भेजने की
chaos
कोशिश.
and
हाँ.
entropy, that's what Ambedkar was trying to do, right? You know कि इतना confusion create करेंगे intercaste
कि
marriage से कि
disorder में
caste
disorder
बचेगा ही
निकल के आ जाएगा.
नहीं. Exactly, right? So that's the
डिसऑर्डर
whole
में
point.
से रिक्वायर्ड बेनिफिट निकल के आ जाएगा, जिसकी वजह से भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
चलो. But thanks for your time. Happy New Year to both of you. It was
Thanks,
really
man.
nice
Thank you
talking
so
to you.
much.
Thanks Ankit.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. That was Ankit, and now we have two people left. Nobody else join, please. We will end the live stream after these two people, because then it will
Yeah.
be, what time is it now? 11:15, 11:20 तक खत्म हो जाएगा लगता है. The next person is, hold on. किसी को thanks बोलना था. अरे, oh, okay, नहीं. Wait, नहीं था क्या? Yeah, so the next person is Apurv Varshne. Hi Apurv.
Hello.
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 Nice
क्या
to
चल रहा है?
finally talk to you guys. I mean, I remember how you said one time that you give us weapons. So I keep on talking to people on Twitter and use your arguments against all these guys.
Does it work?
So yeah, it worked many times.
Okay,
But
thanks.
one,
That's good to know, because I sometimes feel like Twitter पे कुछ भी काम नहीं करता.
no, but then it goes on a very long way. So even if I win, they say, ki, okay, do whatever you want, you are still a Hindu. I say, I don't follow any of these karma or none of this thing. Still you are a Hindu. So what do we say on that?
You agree with it? You are still a Hindu. For example, अगर मैं अपने आप को एक्स हिंदू बोल लूँगा, मैं अपने आप बोलूँगा मैं कास्ट वास्ट नहीं मानता, फिर मैं बाहर जाके किसी को अपना नाम बताऊँगा, उसको तो मेरा कास्ट प्रिविलेज मेरे नाम से ही मिल गया. सो जो भी बेनिफिट मिलने थे, वो तो मिल जाएंगे मुझे अपर कास्ट होने की वजह से. In order for me to completely abandon Hinduism, it will require me to legally change my religion and my name. Anything short of that still gives me all the privileges of being Hindu. So in
Now
that respect,
I think because the name has something to do with our language and society. Now
also
religion,
Caste.
yeah, that's what the right-wing guy was also saying. But I think the religion has a hold over language. So do you think the name is also related to that? He's saying your name is because of religion. If religion was not there, your name would not be there.
that is true. Your name does carry your religious identity with it, right? अगर तुम एक कार चला के जा रहे हो और तुमको एक पुलिस वाला रोकता है कहीं मिडल ऑफ का इंडिया जो बेल्ट है वहाँ पे, और तुम कहते हो कि तुम्हारा नाम अहमद है, या तुम कहते हो कि तुम्हारा नाम अपूर्व है, which one will make you safer? Right?
So should we all change our names?
I don't know if it is possible to change our names. I think a better idea is to spread the awareness that your name should not matter, and to strengthen the institutions which are in charge of protecting people regardless of their name and their religion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, you shouldn't change your names. You should change the system that is making a name criminal.
Yeah,
Like,
a
that's what
a
you need
system
to
that is
change.
making a name so important that on the basis of it discrimination becomes possible.
Yeah.
क्योंकि जब तुम नाम बदलने की बात करते हो ना, तुम प्रॉब्लम को कारपेट के नीचे घुसा रहे हो. अगर आग लगी है तो उसके ऊपर कंबल डाल देने से हो सकता है कंबल में आग लग जाए. अ बेटर आइडिया वुड बी टू आग को ही बुझा दो ना.
My family hates me for hiding my surname, by the way. In public. एक तो मेरा surname बहुत लंबा है, वो भी problem है, but like otherwise also my family में some people are like, oh, why don't you use your last name? like it makes us proud कि one of the Sahasrabhojnis is doing so well, etc. I'm like, नहीं करना है मेरे को. I mean, एक तो बहुत लंबा सरनेम है. दूसरा, I don't want to be identified as anything. Like, I mean, immediately मेरा caste identify हो जाता है. Immediately मुझे typecast कर देते हैं. Immediately है. I'm happy. People think I'm Bengali. I'm like, yeah, करो. Some people think because I write Meghnad S, like, अरे ये तो South Indian है. तो I'm like, हाँ, वो भी है. And
मैं
like,
तो बहुत टाइम तो
दिल्ली
वैसा नहीं
वाले.
समझता था, मेघनाथ साहा लिखा था.
Exactly. Like a lot of people, they start talking to me in Bengali. I'm like, हाँ, बालू बालू. That's the only thing I know. So, like, I
मेरे साथ भी होता है, but then I angrily remind them that I'm not Bengali because the power dynamic is different. Like you're Maharashtrian, right?
yeah.
So if somebody calls you Bengali, it doesn't really remind you of bad times. But for an Odia
That's
person,
true.
it's like an Odia person, like my entire cultural identity has been subsumed by the Bengalis. Now this? No, I'm not Bengali. I'm Odia.
Yeah,
So
that
guys
it
are like
becomes militant
Beyonce.
in your case.
You guys are like Beyonce. She also does not use a second name.
No, I use my
Mononymous.
second name.
Yes.
Yeah, I use my full name is Vijendra Mohanty. I think if I hide it, it will sound like a joke because I am an upper caste Hindu and I do have privileges as a result of belonging to an oppressor caste. So I try and the worst feeling is when somebody assumes that I'm from, because I talk about caste in this way, when somebody assumes I'm from uh, Dalit Bahujan Adivasi background. Not worst feeling because there's something wrong with it, but worst because I feel guilty that I'm probably appropriating the identity of someone unknowingly by not using my second name, because I should ideally be in public, right? I belong to an oppressor caste. This is my full name. I am not Dalit Bahujan Adivasi. Those people are the ones who deserve credit for the anti-caste movement, not people like me. So it's complicated. It comes with a whole lot of complications.
Baggage.
Baggage,
Apurva,
yes.
Apurva, why were you named Apurva? Did you ask your parents?
I mean, I don't know, they found it fun.
Acha.
They were
Like,
they were,
is it Apurva without the A in the end, or did you remove it?
no, it's the Hindi word Apurv, no?
Apurva.
In
Apurva.
Hindi, Apurv means
Oh,
unique.
Never before.
Yeah,
interesting. So like, I mean, there was no reason why you were named Apurva.
yeah. I mean, it was named by my mother. She liked the name, so she kept it. I was
Nice.
purely her creation, so she had the rights to name me. When I create my own creation, I think I would also have the right to name my creation.
I would, if I will never reproduce, but in case, like in an hypothetical situation I reproduce, I would also give the child a new surname, not just a
Yeah.
name. I would give
I,
it a
I,
new
I
last name.
I know at least one person whose father decided to abandon their family second name and just give them a unique surname also. And
Yeah,
that's their legal
exactly.
name now. Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep,
many years
yep.
ago,
That's what I
they
did.
say, like the cobbler and black and all that, like they in British time, they used to give it based on their occupation, the surname.
Yeah. Also, the Britishification of last names is also another thing, right? Which is Bandopadhyay became Banerjee, Chattopadhyay became Chatterjee because they could pronounce it better.
Tagore.
Tagore, yeah.
Yeah.
There was this whole thing. Tagore बोल दिया किसी ने तो ठाकुर. अरे ठाकुर का है तेरे को पता भी नहीं. अरे नहीं ठाकुर है Tagore है.
I wonder, by the way, if it happened specifically in Bengal only. अगर बंदोपाध्याय का बैनर्जी बन जाता है, then there are plenty of states where there are long second names. South में तो बहुत लंबे लंबे नाम है. वहाँ पे तो abbreviation नहीं हुआ. Bengal में क्यों हुआ?
Interesting.
Maybe the Bengalis are like,
No,
yeah,
but
कुछ भी कर लो, हमको फर्क नहीं
कुछ भी
पड़ता.
कर लो. कुछ भी कर लो.
Very liberal society.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and
very
also like
something.
very bureaucratic, no? Like, I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of bureaucrats. So have you guys been listening to Empire, by the way? Highly recommend you listen to it.
Remind me what Empire is.
So Empire is a podcast by William Dalrymple. It is basically about the Indian struggle and the East India Company. So I was listening to it. Very fascinating how, like, storytelling at its best, right? Like
Okay.
East India Company spends a great amount of time telling us ki kaise aaye, kahan se aaye. So they came to Calcutta first, right? Sorry, they came to the south. कहाँ पे आए थे पहले? No, not Calcutta first. Like after that, they went to Calcutta.
Hmm.
Clive the Terrible, the asshole. He went
Robert
to
Clive.
Calcutta. Yeah, Robert Clive. He went to Calcutta and then basically did shit there. So I think there is this whole baggage that Kolkata has about British occupation, also, right? So the first
Yeah.
experiments of bureaucracy that they tried were in the Bengal region, the Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, the combined region. But that is their first administrative experiment. वहां से शुरू हुआ था. So I think Bengal is at the end of the day the birthplace of Indian bureaucracy also, right? Bihar, Bengal, all these places, like the entire region. So it's fascinating how like Bengalis were so subservient, as you call it, but I think they were just like becoming assimilated very first when they first came, and like the East India Company took over. Just a theory, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They came
Okay.
to Surat first, is what yesterday. I'm not sure. Hey, where did they come? Did they come to Kochi?
Who?
Uh,
Let's ask Google.
क्लाइव पहले मद्रास गया था, आई थिंक. Then he
I
went to
think so.
Calcutta.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I have a different name for Clive. It's Gora the Explorer.
yeah. What an asshole, dude. That
Yeah.
one.
Acha, Apurv, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Meghnath, you're taking up all the time. Let me just
Yeah.
quickly ask questions.
Oh,
So, why
wow.
did you delete Cult Fiction from Spotify?
Because Pulp Fiction is coming back. This is a fantastic time to ask about it, by the way. Pulp Fiction has been a project for a long time that has been in my mind. I was never sure how to do it. So what I'm doing now is that Ashwin, my friend, comic book writer Ashwin Kalmane, and I are bringing out a Substack publication called Pulp Fiction. If you go to pulpfiction.substack.com, you can subscribe. It's starting on February 5th. Every week we will send out one short story on Sunday. People will read it. Depending on how well things succeed, we will continue. Maybe the frequency of it will increase. Maybe if it becomes more successful, eventually the podcast will come back. Maybe even more success happens, a Hindi podcast will start. So Cult Fiction is going to be a speculative fiction publication. It is deleted from Spotify as a standalone Hindi podcast. But Cult Fiction, hopefully in this year, since now I am like making some changes to life, I'm able to pay more attention to it. So Cult Fiction is coming back. Everyone, please go subscribe at cultfiction.substack.com. It's a newsletter. You'll get a short story every Sunday, one by Ashwin, then one
Pulp
by me,
Fiction.
etc. KALP, culpfiction.substack.com.
Yeah, I wanted to make my grandparents listen to it. If they would have heard it, it would have shattered their thinking.
Which
Okay,
one?
this can
There was
all.
just one story on it, right?
Yeah. So, but still, I mean,
If you,
this is a.
Apurva, do one thing. Apurva, send me an email at vimoh@vimoh.in. I will mail you the MP3 file. You can make them listen to it.
Okay, awesome. So, what?
Cool.
So, what?
Vimoh@vimoh.in.
All right, I'll do that.
Cool.
Achha, there was this.
You haven't posted anything yet यहाँ पे
कहाँ पे?
Pulp Fiction पे.
अरे February 5 को शुरू करेंगे ना. अभी बस एक इंट्रो पोस्ट है. Just
Okay.
promoting it. आज Instagram पे एक पोस्ट आ रहा था. So I need some subscribers before I start sending stuff out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, so there was, you guys were discussing about uniform. So actually, schools are also a place for social mobility. This is what so the guy before me, maybe he was a rich guy, so therefore he did not think that
No.
uniform.
I think he clarified that he was coming from a scheduled caste background.
That does not mean he's poor.
No, I don't want to assume what his financial status was. So
Yeah.
whenever I talk about someone, I would rather they be present to clarify their position. And since I can't do that, I would rather not talk about it.
Because there were many people in my school which like their uniform was the only clothes they had, and they used to wear it whole day. So it's like imagine there's a standard which you have to achieve. Like in Korea, we see that the lookism is too much. So fortunately, it's not in India. So it's just that for a poor guy to achieve the level of uniform, that is easier than to be like, go all out and be fashionable.
Hmm.
So that way also a uniform helps.
एक्चुअली अब मेरा जो बचपन का एक्सपीरियंस था वो वैसा था, लाइक देयर वर पीपल इन माय क्लास हु आर पुअर एंड उनके लाइक you would find someone whose clothes had not been ironed for a few days and they will get a rap because of it. But I also knew at least one kid who came from a really poor family, but his family was extremely diligent about making sure he looked second to none. His bags were perfectly packed, his clothes were super clean, his hair was combed and everything. So
Yep. Exactly. There are
I think he
you
might
won't.
be an exception. I think he might be an exception because I
No,
looked
no, no,
like a
no. He's
mess.
not an exception. There are a lot of poor people who want to, because their parents realize that education is the
Is a
only school
pathway
is the
to,
only.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Anything else,
so
Apurva?
yeah. So do you guys? I mean,
This is
there
your
is no.
last point, huh?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
your last point.
Yeah. So there is no evidence for soul. So what do you guys think of this concept of soul?
If there is no evidence, I don't believe it.
Okay.
मेघनाथ,
What is the soul?
जो जूते
I
के
don't
नीचे
know.
होता है.
No, no. I mean, seriously, like according to you, Apurva, what is the
Yeah.
soul?
No, this the classical definition, no, of like it has our memories, and if we die, the soul can move to another body. Like how
So
Avatar,
basically,
you've
the
seen
only
Avatar.
pure part of your body which is trapped in your biological trappings.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's right. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
No, it's
I
there in
mean,
Avatar movie also. No, they all pray and the
Hey,
soul
don't
moves.
spoil,
So,
don't spoil, don't
don't
spoil.
spoil.
no,
Don't
no,
spoil.
the first part. You've not seen
Oh,
the
first
first
part.
part yet.
Okay. No, no, I have.
So
Like
in
I
that
to
also,
believe I'm a brain in a jar somewhere,
So
and this is a
as far
simulation.
as long as you're talking about Avatar, I don't think they ever said that something leaves the body, right?
no, in the end, the his body was damaged. No, so they transferred his intelligence or the soul from his body
No,
to the
I
Navi
think
body.
so. So that's what we saw. You and I saw, hey, like a camera going into his eye and then coming out of something, and then his eye opens and he is that. So can
Yeah.
that not be a process of copying someone's brain patterns and pasting it on the brain of another body? Why
Yeah.
does it have to be a soul?
Like a perfectly identical brain with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same neural patterns that
yeah.
person has. But chipka do.
Hmm.
True. Okay.
Maybe
Thank you,
Like
maybe
that's
it
guys.
what
was that.
no. That's why I'm saying that we are all a brain in a jar. This is a simulation.
We are all
So
one
just
brain.
live. No, we are not. We are like many brains in like some place or maybe like different places. I don't
नहीं,
know, some other
शायद
planet.
में
I don't know if this planet exists.
मैट्रिक्स बहुत ज्यादा देखी है इस आदमी ने.
No, Megnath, you
Matrix?
need to do shrooms.
I need to do shrooms. Yeah, I know. Lots of people tell me that. Apparently, it's going to be open up my mind.
Yeah, for
Yep.
those of you who don't know what shrooms is, it's a snack that comes
It's
in a
just,
packet and you buy it from the market
Yeah,
and it's
Modi ji
very
also
tasty.
eats shrooms. No, there was a news.
It's a crispy chips. Let's not talk about it. It's a crispy chips. This is YouTube. Shrooms is a crispy
All right,
chips. You put it in your
all
mouth and
right.
you chew it and all that. ठीक है अपूर्वा,
Thank
thank
you,
you for coming. Bye bye.
thank you, guys.
Bye. Speaking of chips, the last caller is kale chips. Hi Kale.
Kale chips.
Hey. Speak.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys, can you
Yes.
Kale ji?
Hi. I can hear you. Go on.
hear me?
Yes.
Haan.
You have to say something in order for me to hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Yes. First of all, Meghnad, big fan. I did not expect to actually be on the same call with you. Been watching
Oh my
since
God.
Sunset Watch.
Fanboy
Uh,
moment.
yes, it really is.
Okay.
But so what I wanted to talk about actually, it was like a bit of a fork from when you guys were talking about mythology and when Godmen use it to like kind of pump Hindu civilizational supremacy. And I was thinking more about like the kind of stuff that I've seen in my house is not this religious stuff, but more, I would say, like I'm quoting here, pseudo intellectual stuff. Like I'm giving two examples. First of all was Breaking India. There's a book called Breaking India by Rajiv Malhotra.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
second is and the second is a YouTube channel called Sangam Talks. I don't know if you've heard of both of these things.
I've heard of that
Uh,
one. Yeah.
so my thing was that apart. So I'm gonna give both. I'm gonna give my reasoning for why I don't think both of these people are both of these sources are very credible. फर्स्ट इज ब्रेकिंग इंडिया के लिए अपार्ट लाइक बुक के अलावा जो भी मैंने देखा है राजीव मल्होत्रा का लाइक हिज पास्ट लाइफ नहीं पोस्ट लाइक नेक्स्ट लाइफ इंश्योरेंस करके कुछ तो भी है लाइक यू
Oh
गिव
yeah.
अस मनी नाउ
Yes.
and then you can insure the rest of your other coming lives and all of his discussions with that Nityanand Swami.
Yeah.
So that's like all of my opinion about Rajiv has been through the stuff around that book. But when I'm in the process of reading that book right now. The book itself, I can't really find any evidence to refute the claims he's making. Similar thing with Sangam Talks. Like I studied science and computer science in school and college. So whenever those people get even slightly into science, I know this is bullshit. But any of the historical claims or religious claims that are making, I am unable to refute them. But like through all of this other stuff that I know, I'm able to deduce that these are not credible people. So I wanted to just ask, because you guys are more, of course, more knowledgeable in like humanities than I am. How do you like fact check these kinds of claims? Like much harder to refute.
Megnath, have you read Breaking India?
I haven't. I've heard of this though, the book.
I have, and I think if I can just clarify one thing, I think Breaking India sounds like a credible book because it very carefully chooses what it wants to present as. You know, there are like 10 things happening. One is being done by a Muslim, one by a Hindu, one by Pakistan, one by America, one by South India, so-called Dravidian forces. And he will only choose the ones that suit the narrative that he wants to peddle. That is why Breaking India looks like an effective book. And it will only look like an effective book until you have exposed yourself to other sources, including sources that directly refute his kind of like uh, uh, the ideological slant that he takes. I have even read other books by him, like something he has written a book called Indra's Net,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
there is a book he
There's a
mentions at
Breaking
least
India 2 also now.
yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. What are you going to do? So his point in at least one book he talks about something called difference anxiety, which he says that Hinduism is open to all religions and all cultural philosophical influences. When we look at someone who's different from us, we feel like, hey, this is something we can learn from and absorb and things like that. But other religions are people with difference anxiety. When they see people who are different from them, they get anxious and they try to change them, and that is the source of conversion, right?
Right.
I agree. I agree that people from Abrahamic religions are, or at least in theory, on paper, Abrahamic religions push that kind of thinking. I have never heard from him or anyone with his bent of mind say anything about the difference anxiety that is going through India right now from Hindus. When we look at the so called economic boycott of Muslims, that sort of shit, when we look at Hindus simply being in favor of people being oppressed or discriminated against because of their religion, simply because they're different from them. He brought in a nice sounding concept called difference anxiety. He applied it in a very specific context and he ignored everything else. And I have not heard him say anything about the difference anxiety being displayed by Hindus right now. So the pseudo intellectualism point you made is correct. He's not a stupid man, but I do think he's a dishonest man. And it also shows
Agree with
in
that.
his it also shows
Yeah.
in his Babagiri support and all that, about which I posted a video on this channel a couple of days ago.
There's this other handle which is on the same lines, True Indology. You must have come across that.
Yeah, I have
Again,
come across that.
like person seems quote unquote knowledgeable, sources things, gives like whatever Sanskrit translations that he has to, and I mean, again, there's no way I can refute that, right? Because I don't know
Correct.
where his sources, what is happening there. Like he put some pictures does whatever. But the interesting thing is, again, I would recommend you listen to Empire, because the amount of distortion that the British also did about on the Indian history, what Mughals were, where what they did, etc., is insane, right? For example, there's this one very interesting story that William Dalrymple tells you. There's this very famous portrait, right, of Clive meeting the Emperor Shah Alam, right? It's a grand setting. You can Google it, you can see it. It's a grand setting. He's receiving basically, it was called, I forget what the term is, essentially right to rule over the land, right? So Clive,
Right.
the thing is, though, this was a complete work of imagination, right, by this portrait that Clive hired to make him look like glorious while he's doing it, and the whole affair was all like, oh, he's just handing it off to him very nicely in like
Rosy.
this
Yeah.
grand setting. Actually, he was held at gunpoint. Shah Alam was held at gunpoint, and Clive took it forcefully. There was no like, oh, darbar mein baith ke sab log taali baja rahe, nothing.
चाय पी पी
So-
के साइन कर रहे हैं.
Yeah, exactly. But that painting, though, is freakishly valuable, and everybody believes that this is what happened, right? Matlab, like, a lot of people do believe that this is, oh, transfer of power ho gaya, वगैरह वगैरह. नहीं हुआ था, right? So my thing is, history is, I feel like it's a narrative, right? In a lot of ways, history is a narrative. Like, you have one perspective over the other, and that is what we have to weigh. So one good thing that you are already doing is questioning what you're reading, right? I think that should be the default state of mind for any sort of historical facts that you read, right? I genuinely believe that now, that this whole argument which the RSS puts forward, कि हमारा पूरा westernized history है, what's that Thapar, Romila Thapar,
Romila
Romila
is
Thapar,
the biggest villain, because she like glorified Mughals.
Romila
And
Thapar,
what's funny is
Wendy
that Romila
Doniger.
Thapar.
These days,
What's
Audrey
fun-
Truschke is also getting a lot of crap.
Audrey Tushke,
Yeah.
Wendy Doniger, jo bhi hai, right? My thing is that, sure, I will take what Romila Thapar said also with a pinch of salt. I'm not opposed to that, right? I'm not going to be
nice
like a
filter is
cheerleader.
that if you're reading a history book and you begin to feel angry against people who are not of your community, you're not reading history, you're reading propaganda.
That's an interesting
Right.
test.
Historians
Right.
are very objective about things. If you are reading history, and I've been a student of history in college, I know the tone of history books. They're never like, "Eh, kitna atyachar kiya, dekho re, maro, maro, maro." That's not history. That's your
Yeah.
garden variety, stupidity, divisive propaganda.
No, but
No, but that's
but
the thing. Like,
yeah,
even when I watch Sangam, it's not like I'm feeling angry towards the people who have quote
So
unquote
Sangam is the
distorted our
Sangam is the
history.
gateway drug, right? If you watch enough Sangam videos, the
Ha,
next
yeah,
video
they
you will
like
see
slowly
is
nudge you
slightly
into
more angry.
the-
Yeah. So they have
no,
gateway drugs. Breaking
Sangam
India was a
though,
gateway. Breaking India was a gateway drug for me, by the way, to go into the right wing.
oh really?
Yes.
Oh,
I have a special.
I have to read this.
I have a
This looks
special
fascinating.
bit of rage reserved for that book.
But Kale, your
Yeah,
point
whichever
of
you wish.
basic-
Yeah.
yeah,
call
essentially
him
what
Kip.
what I'm trying to say here is that like, I mean, you are questioning it critically, so which is great. But how do you prove it? Why do you want to prove it is also a question. Like, I mean, like, why do you want to fact check them? Why do you want to correct them? Is there a reason?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, pura whatever reading I do related to political science comes from my father. Like while I'm discussing with this, and he like it's usually like altercations, not discussions. And whatever he said, like, have you even read this book? Do you even know what kinds of conspiracies are working against India? That's why I picked this up. And again, on the opposite side, I really wanted to make sure that I'm not being nudged into believing in this Hindu civilizational supremacy. I also tried to pick up a history book.
It is a nudge.
Oh, do you know there is
a
a latest conspiracy theory which I think this channel only had spread first, that Ambedkar was Brahmin.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, dude, crazy. It's nuts. It's like he came from the village of Ambavadekar, so he was then took the name of Ambedkar, but he was actually born a Brahmin, then pretended to be a Dalit all this while. Then he basically did this whole caste thing, all of that. I'm like, what? That makes no
Wow.
sense. Where are you
Yeah.
getting this from? It's like, school में पढ़ा था.
Yeah, so this is easy.
कौन से school
But
में
this
पढ़ा
is
था
easy to
भाई?
refute.
Yeah.
No, again, like I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
So these are like the
Just that-
Nigerian scams, right? Like if you send a mail to someone with really bad grammar, you're essentially doing it because you want to filter out any people who are able to tell the difference between that and a genuine email. So you're genuinely sending out a stupid theory in order to at least create a folder of people who are more likely to believe that shit, and then you can give them more, then you can feed them more nonsense. नेहरू नहर के पास मिले थे, मंगल यात्रियों ने हमारी गाय चुरा ली, वगैरह वगैरह.
नेहरू,
Right.
एडविना और माउंटबैटन ने थ्रीसम करके हमको इंडिपेंडेंस दिलाया.
Yeah, actually
5 lakh
theory है.
views that speech has. Crazy. I've been watching these things, blowing my mind.
I have not gotten this far into the rabbit hole.
I hope you
I've
never
gone
do, Kale.
deep down into the trad rabbit hole, sir. Very, very deep. Like that's what I'm saying. Like at one point, I was like, you will end up correcting people like your dad who are actually reading books, right? Who are actually at least engaging with a book and reading
Yes,
it, and then
yes.
like trying to. So, but the point is that there is like this vast amount of people who are watching this 5 lakh speech, 5 lakh views, whatever speech, and actually believing this garbage.
Yeah.
My uncle only like spouts some garbage back to me, and I don't even feel like correcting him nowadays. I'm like, हाँ ठीक है भाई, believe कर ले. मैं क्या झंडा लेके जा रहा हूँ कहीं पे कि मेरे को ये correct करना है, वो correct करना है, कर लो. देख, your brain, your history, you believe whatever you want. As long
Right.
as he's not murdering someone for it, ठीक है, करो.
It does get very tedious at a certain point of time.
Very
But
tedious.
Kale,
I'm
do you have
tired.
do you have more questions or more points?
Yeah, I have. So I just wanted to bring this to my second point, which was like
Make this your last one, huh?
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
So yes. So we're talking about like एक तरफ का intellectual like Raji Malhotra, दूसरी तरफ का Romila Thapar. Both of these we're supposed to not take like their words as the truth. But the thing is, then how do I make any claim about history, like any kind of claim,
You read more
without?
books.
Acha.
You don't need to base your understanding on either Romila Thapar or Raji Malhotra is not even a historian, so I wouldn't count him in the same thing. But you don't need to form your understanding of history on the basis of one historian's works, right? Read multiple books. That's the price you pay. That's the price, like, the price you pay for a more holistic understanding of what happened in our past is to read more books by more people with more points of view. That's how you learn that, okay, this shit I can filter out, this shit I need to make a note of, and stuff like that. Not
And
everyone. I will agree. I will agree if you say that you don't have the time for it. By the way, because
Like,
it's not
I'll
for
just
you.
give you
I
one
would be
example.
lying if I said I don't have the time. I spend far too much time, more time than necessary on
Then
Instagram.
great.
So
Then
I
use
could
that
instead
time. Use that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Goodreads and set your yearly book reading target to 20 books. Choose a topic, buy as many books as possible, sit down and read them all. At the end of the year, you'll know
Correct.
more than most people do.
Yeah, that seems like
Just
a good idea.
last
That
point,
seems-
I wanted to just say one thing. So as you know, like as an ex-journalist, and as they say, journalism is the first draft of history, right?
Yep.
I have been in places like, for example, do you remember in West Bengal, there was this whole quote unquote massacre that happened in Sitalkuchi, where like some army fellows came in and shot. I mean, again, disputed whether they were army fellows or not. But like some people were shot, like 20 people died wahan pe, like literally mowed down, right, in a voting booth. This happened in West Bengal. Now, I heard so many versions of this story. When my colleagues were on the ground, they told me one version. Then I heard other versions from other journalists, and then other versions from other journalists. My thing is that each of them might have written like stories on their narratives and versions, right? Now, which narrative will carry forward and become history one day? That is the question.
Yeah.
Like 50 years later,
Yeah.
which narrative, हमारा narrative, उनका narrative या इनका narrative, या फिर ऑफिशियल कोई तो भी गवर्नमेंट का ही एक नया नैरेटिव बन जाएगा, या फिर नैरेटिव बनेगा ही नहीं. You know, like that's something you need to ask at all points when reading history. I feel like even if it's like what Vimoh said, like historians will tell you facts, right? They will not make you feel angry. They will just plain give you कि अच्छा ये ऐसा था वैसा था वैसा था, ये हुआ वो हुआ, डेट से लो लो. That is history. But at the same time, you would also then wonder whether they are giving equal importance to the other side of the story, which is like their the say, like if it's like a war, which narrative is
for example,
which
I guess you
facts
could
are
say
they
like
highlighting?
Aurangzeb, why did he break temples? Like you could be like it was to send political messages, or was it for like religious reasons?
Yeah. Or was it a redevelopment project that they were doing like the Kashi Vishwanath? I mean, why not?
Right.
कोई भी हो सकता
Yeah.
था. I mean, like maybe he wanted to build a nice platform with sewage under it, right? Like you make like a nice city with like a sewage system. अरे but like there are a few temples here. अब क्या करेंगे? Platform बनाओ, सब कुछ तोड़ दो. वो भी हो सकता है. Why not? Like कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Right. Yeah, अभी कुछ भी हो सकता है, but like my father is pretty sure कि यही है जो वो कह रहे हैं, and then I don't know what to say.
Get more books and leave them in strategic places for him to discover around the house. Maybe he will read some of them. I think like I just wanted to point something out. If your father is reading books, it is obviously a good thing, like Meghna pointed out. But as far as the problem of your relatives getting exposed to a never-ending stream of propaganda through their smartphones is concerned, there are two ways. One, you unrealistically expect them to stop doing it. Two, you show them social dilemma and convince them that their phone is out to get their brain, and then maybe they stop using their phone. Maybe that is a better idea. Phone ही नहीं रहेगा, ना रहेगा बांस, ना रहेगी, ना बजेगी बांसुरी.
Next family gathering, we'll sit in front of Netflix if I can make them.
Yeah, next family gathering, you play the movie. Tell people while you're watching this, you will not use your phones. Get them all to put their phones in a bag, and regardless of the result of the film watching, throw the bag away. Or smash it with a hammer and hand them the whatever remains. कि देख लो तुम्हारा कौन सा फोन है, इसको वापस जोड़ सकते हो.
Let's see if you can still watch Sangam.
नहीं तो बोल देना एक आध अच्छा आर्टिकल like 5G से कैंसर होता है या something like that.
मोबाइल फोन का हवा बना दो ताकि फेंक दे सब लोग. उसके बाद आधी
5G towers are spreading radiations which will harm you. Internet नहीं रखना चाहिए हम फोन पे. Oh my god,
together.
Anyway, Kale Chips, thank you so much for joining. And
thanks, and good luck, Meghnad, for your podcasts, and I loved your work during News Laundry.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, see you.
Bye-bye. Something is dropping next week, so keep a watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
That was Kale Chips, and he was our last caller. So thank you, Meghnad, for doing this. It's a nice round 2 hour figure, 2 hour 8 minutes we are at. This is a great conversation. One of the best podcast episodes I think I've had in a long time.
Nice.
To say nothing about all the callers. But thank you so much for joining on my birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday again.
How many times?
I think just like 20 minutes left. So
20 minutes left in my birthday. Yes.
Yeah.
January
birthday stream, great way to celebrate your 40th. Woo!
Yeah. The best birthday gift ever. Thank you so much, man.
Amazing. Chalo. See you, man. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye, friends. Bye, chat.
That was Meghnad, and before I end today's episode, I would like to remind everyone that the channel is monetized, and you can support it by clicking the join button, channel. Or if you're watching this video at a later time, you can make a one-time donation. Alternatively, you can become a patron of the channel at patreon.com/Vimoh. There's a monthly and an annual scheme. If you choose to join either of them, great. If you don't want to, you can simply go to vimoh.stck.me, which is my blog, and click the support button there and make a one-time payment of an amount of your choice. You can also buy merch and support the channel that way. The merch is available at kadakmerch.com/VimohLive. There are t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs there for atheists as well as people who are not atheists. So check those out. And the website for the podcast is at www.vimoh.in. All the audio episodes are available there, and there are links to all the audio apps where you can listen to the show. Apps like Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Ghana.com, and JioSaavn, and even Amazon Music, I think. Yes, that's also there. Whatever audio platform you use, you can find the audio version of this podcast there. Today's episode of January 4, Wednesday, is over. The next time I will see you will be on Saturday at 9:30 p.m. here on youtube.com/Vimoh Live and on twitch.tv/Vimoh Live and on the podcast, obviously, about which I just told you, and I don't want to repeat myself. So, thank you. Let me look at the last few comments. It's just happy birthday wishes. Thank you everyone for the happy birthday wishes. I will see you soon. Until then, please take care of yourselves and be well. Bye-bye.